Again, what a noise. Siya Kolisi closes his eyes, tilts his head back and cries that anthem up to the sky here in Marseille, the South African anthem, drifting into a very, very warm late afternoon. It gives us a chance now, with a few moments before kick-off, to run through the two teams, and both at pretty much full strength for this one, starting with the defending champions, the Springboks, in their mighty pack with Malcolm Marx at hooker, Steven Kitsoff and Frans Malherbe, the starting props tonight. The second row has the familiar figure of Eben Etzebeth alongside Franco Mostert, with Leicester's Jasper Wiese getting the nod at number 8, and the mighty Pieter-Steph du Toit in one flank, and that man Siya Kolisi, who lifted the cup in Japan 4 years ago. We thought he might not make this one after his knee injury. He is on the other. The back line full of pace. Faf de Klerk wins his 50th cap at scrum half. Manny Libbok now the established fly half. In the centre it's Damien de Allende at 12, Jesse Creel outside, fullback Damien Willemse, and the flyers on the wing, not big men at all but so elusive, in Kurtley Arendse and Cheslin Colby, scored the second try in the World Cup final 4 years ago. Scotland at full strength. Pierre Schoeman, George Turner, Xander Fagerson make up the front row. Richie Gray bringing vital height alongside Grant Gilchrist at lock. And what a game required from the back row. Jamie Ritchie, captain of blindside. Jack Dempsey, the former Wallaby, the hard carrier at number 8. And Rory Darge, the great talent at open side. But he'll have the contest of his life at the breakdown with Kolisi and Kitsoff in particular. It's as good an attacking backline as you'll find. Ben White at scrum half alongside Finn Russell, Sione Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones in the centre, with Blair Kinghorn at fullback, and the big and small try-scoring machines of Duan van der Merwe and Darcy Graham on the wings. The bench so key though. South Africa with their familiar 6 forwards to 2 backs. No real drop-off in power or quality. And wait for that front row, indeed probably all the forwards, to come on en masse around 50 or 60 minutes for South Africa. The referee is Angus Gardner from Australia, and the countdown, the final countdown to the first match of this World Cup for Scotland and for South Africa. And Manny Libbok for the Springboks will get us underway. They're kicking from right to left as we look down from on high, and Libbok just takes his time after the blast of the whistle and gets it through the middle, and challenging a big knock on by Scotland. Kinghorn couldn't take it, so advantage for the Springboks, and they have the ball to attack just outside the 22. Mistake from Scotland early on. Libbok, advantage over as it's kicked through by Libbok. Can't quite find his left winger in Cheslin Colby, but well, that was a nervy start by Scotland, Johnny Beattie.
Yeah, South Africa opting to switch it up, actually kicking straight down the middle with the kick off. The contest and they're really tightly fought, and Blair Kinghorn knocked the ball on. The resulting turnover, South Africa kick to the corner, and Scotland now forced to exit from deep in their 22.
Line out, oh, it's a kick by Russell, charged down by Franco Mostert, got his 6'6.5", and limbs outstretched as well to that one. So suddenly it's a line out on the 5 metre line. It's still a Scotland line out as we look down. George Turner's gone long, risky, but pays off, and Dempsey has it, the number 8. The former Wallaby, played in the last World Cup for Australia, but clear now, having not played for Australia for 3 years, with a Scottish grandfather. And Ben White, the scrum half. That's a better exit from Scotland off that one, and applause from the fans in blue as the pressure is relieved. Bobby Skinstad.
Yeah, I think there was a much better exit, and to be honest, some tricks up the sleeve from Scotland. They did really well. Nice little one support line out. You know, there was a ball behind. Unfortunately, Mostert picked it up and created the opportunity to charge that down. Let's see if South Africa can keep their own ball. 2 line-out wins from 2 for Scotland so far.
Down on this near side, Malcolm Marx, his first throw in, just inside the Scottish 10 metre line. South Africa moving it right to left now, and Libbok sends it on to Creel, and then it's Willemse coming into the line, and Siya Kolisi is waiting out there, and he's just wrestling his way forward, getting the better of Duan van der Merwe there. So South Africa midway between the Scottish 10-metre line and the 22 on that far side, moving it left now. Libbok sends it high. Well, not sure what was going on there from Libbok. Was it a drop goal attempt? If it was a kick, I didn't see it touch the ground. It was uncertain anyway, and suddenly Russell able to clear, and he's angled it well, but Manny Libbok scuttles back there to get it just inside the South African 10-metre line now. And forward comes South Africa again. Willemse, fullback, and Richie Gray just providing a shield. I'm not sure about that. Nobody taking it initially for Scotland, but they have it now just outside their own 22, and Russell gives it to Dempsey, who is lined up and claimed, hit hard. Good take by Hugh Jones on the far side, but Scotland feeling the early hits. Libbok waiting for the clearing kick again on the South African 10-metre line, and now South Africa a chance to come, and a little spin from Cheslin Colby. He's taken down well. Stephen Kitsoff takes the loose ball for the Springboks. Giant red-haired prop forward goes to ground, and in goes Faf de Klerk to fire it out to Peter Steff de Toy. Huge blonde flanker. Scotland try and hold him up. No joy there. And Kitsoff has it again. Still just inside the South African half. 3 minutes gone. No score on the board here in the Stade Velodrome. Libbok sends it to the heavens once again. Doesn't even reach the second tier of the vast stands, but down it comes, and Duan van der Merwe has it, tries to keep it alive, but flings it only to Jesse Creel, and into touch they go. And Scotland look for a quick take at the line-out. We'll just take this moment here to go to the second one-day international. Quick update from the cricket, Nikesh Ragani.
Where it's 34 overs beside this one after some early rain, and England recovering well after losing a cluster of early wickets. Liam Livingstone's 95 not out from 78, seeing them to 226 for 7. New Zealand will get their chase underway shortly.
Thank you, Nikesh. A reminder as well in rugby terms, what a match to come later on in Bordeaux. 9 o'clock kick-off local, 8 o'clock in the UK. It is Wales against Fiji as they both get their campaigns underway. And we are readying ourselves for the thing that Springboks live and breathe for, the first scrum of the game, Bobby.
Well, it's the first deep breath that we've had since the beginning of the game, and then now it's straight into the scrum. So I think the tight five are licking their chops, but it's been helter-skelter, end-to-end stuff from both teams, fantastic. Mixed in with a bit of kicking, yes, but some counter-attacking. This is the first real test. Let's see if Scotland have been doing the preparation in that scrum area.
So on that far side of the pitch, 5 metres from that far touch. Midway between the Scotland 10-metre line and the 22. First scrum, South Africa. They live, they breathe, they scrummage. They went through the Welsh pack recently and certainly got the better of the All Blacks as well. And this first choice front row for South Africa of Kitsoff, Marks, Malherbe. We're seeing pictures of Frans Malherbe. He is a sizable chunk of a man at tight head prop for South Africa. It's almost the position of great honour in South Africa. If you're a tight head prop for the Springboks, you're doing okay, and you're eating a lot.
Well, exactly. It's a bit like the linebacker protecting his quarterback. You're anchoring that scrum, and all the beauty about this is Frans Malherbe takes it so seriously. He knows that he can win some penalties, he can win some advantage for his team, and the team get behind him when he does so.
But it's Scotland's ball, and on that far side of the scrum, Ben White feeds.
Keep it up!
The referee Angus Gardner saying just keep it up, and Scotland certainly have a solid scrum there, just starting to give a little bit as the ball comes out, and a chance for Russell to move it. Van der Merwe coming off that wing and trying to make some headway. 2 men get him down, Jesse Creel one of them, and the ball might be coming back on the South African side. No, still there for Scotland, but Ben White under all sorts of pressure. He had number 8 who came in there, Jasper Wiese, the Leicester man, as Scotland move it though to Richie Gray, tallest man on the pitch. And Stephen Kitsoff wandered round there. The arm of Angus Gardner goes up immediately for a Scotland penalty.
But you were never onside.
Never onside, says Angus Gardner.
And he's right, and he's absolutely right. Kitsoff was part of that tackle which turned into a sort of pile of bodies on the ground, and he'd never repeated back behind the last feet or the last body, and then he went forward and he's given away a penalty.
So you're listening to South Africa against Scotland on 5 Live and BBC Radio Scotland. Bobby Skinstad and Johnny Beattie alongside.
And the first real pause for Scotland. We talked about that scrum, the parity, the launch, but the danger we've seen is just the rush defence of South Africa. It is frantic, it's hard to run into. You think there's maybe something on, or a 2v1 to give, and then you get man on ball. It's so up in your face so quickly, rushing the ball at the base as well. but Kitchoff just coming offside, allowing Scotland a little bit of respite, and now a launch possible from just outside the South African 22.
Well, it's a good clearing kick by Finn Russell from that penalty, and will take play up to midway between the South African 10 metre and the 22. Kitsoff as an easy man to spot as well.
First foray into South African territory, and they've given it away.
Jasper Wiese has it at the tail of the line. Out it went over the outstretched arms of Richie Gray, which is some feat again in itself, as Faf de Klerk now moves it for South Africa, and a lone piper as Scotland fail in the first line. I can see players breathing so hard down there already in the heat. A knock on and the high ball by Scotland, so South Africa will have the scrum. So the last passage of play really going the Springboks' way.
It's a feature of play we've seen a lot over the weekend as well. France, they absolutely dominated the All Blacks with their kicking game. England last night against Argentina. South Africa clearly setting their stall out, testing Blair Kinghorn. That's 3 already up and unders. 2 have been knocked on, and it's the easiest way to gain possession. I know fans don't enjoy it, but 40 metres straight away up the field, they got a scrum back. And the other worrying sign for Scotland is that's a misfire at line-out time as well. Richie Gray up, open, complete overthrow. They coughed the ball back up after the first opportunity to attack.
Yeah, you don't want to be giving away your only attacking opportunity so far in the half, but you're right that the thing that comes with the lofted kick for the wingers on the side is a little bit of the danger. There's a red card somewhere waiting, if somebody gets it wrong, and these players have got it right so far, but they're putting real pressure on Kinghorn. I love the fact that Kinghorn and Finn Russell can play together. I know that they were sort of competing for that 10 position, but for me he's a great attacking footballer to have. He's just had a little bit of struggle up in the air in the first 2 minutes.
Okay, guys, on the
There is scrummage again.
Head straight away. You need to square up. Okay?
Need to square up the front rows. 8 minutes gone, no score between South Africa and Scotland in the Stade Velodrome, and the pitch entirely in the shade, and gratefully received by the players. That patch of remaining sunlight that is coming down from that beautifully curved roof is just creeping up the stand on that far side. 4 enormous tiers of stand up to sort of eyelid curve, and 64,000 spectators in here. Scotland fans certainly making themselves heard. But this scrum to South Africa, 15 metres from that far side touch, and just inside the Scottish 10 metre line. South Africa in their white and turquoise, is it, strip with this scrum, and they've done a number in Scotland there, and they'll get the penalty. So the second scrum is business as usual. Normality restored for South Africa. The first scrum was even, but South Africa certainly getting better of that one, and they have the penalty, and they have options to stick this in the corner or go for a fairly straightforward 3.
Well, the interesting thing here, and Johnny, I'd be interested in your take as well, it was second scrum, second shove. So they took they received the Scottish first shove, and then literally you could see them consolidate and go again, and that's when they put the pressure on the Scottish team. Watch there, after that ball's in, they go forward on the loose head side, and that's exactly where the referee is having a look. For me, that they could potentially have actually reset that. It looked like it had gone down on both sides, but referee was on the loose head side, and he gave Kitsoff the advantage.
Whereas on the tight head side, actually, Mal Herb had lost his footing, and that could have been pinged equally on that side. But anyway, the upshot is a shot at goal for South Africa, and worrying signs for Scotland. They were actually solid on their own ball, but their South African ball looking strong, announcing that double shove, and really turning the screw on the Scottish pack.
He's running down the shot clock here. We've got penalty shot clock now. He's into the red. He's into the final 10 seconds, Manny Lubbock. 5 seconds remaining, and he's down to the final seconds as he just chips it forward off that right boot. It looks pretty good. No, wide it goes. The flags of the touch judges, the assistant referees stay down. Some crowing cheers from the Scotland fans, and Scotland do get off the hook there.
It looked a little bit rushed. I'm not sure that he did the, acknowledge the timing or got ready for the timing quick enough.
Well, we do have a couple of new things in play that we saw for the first time in the Summer Nations Series, and now in the World Cup we'll have the bunker review, the potential foul play review officer having a look at things that is a yellow card worth perhaps upgrading to red. We also have shot clock, and we have 90 seconds on penalties, 60 on conversions, and is it the other way around? It's the other way around. Anyway, we'll be counting down, and Manny Lubbock was getting very, very close to the end there. So missed chance for South Africa, but they have that 22 restart, and they gather it, and they make ground again through Jasper Wiese up to the Scottish 10 metre line again. No score yet, 11 minutes gone. Out it goes to Cheslin Colby now, skipping and dancing infield, taken down by Finn Russell. The ball still there. Peter Steff de Toy moves it to Kitsoff, the loose head prop, and he rolls his way up towards the 22. Faf de Klerk moves it to Lubbock once again, and then through the heavier men in midfield, Etzebeth, that brown hair matted already with sweat, sets it back by that giant frame. Scotland with a counter ruck and coming through to get it. Might have been knocked on by Finn Russell. South Africa still emerge with it, and now the play breaking up. They'll come back. The first knock on was by Scotland, so it'll be South Africa's scrum, but
10 deliberate.
and in fact a deliberate knock on came the instruction from someone else to Angus Gardner, and so boos from the Scotland fans, but it's given now as a penalty to South Africa. It's about 35-40 metres out, but it's right in front of the posts.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I agree with that. I think you know, Finn Russell was the ball was almost passed into him, not like he was reaching out to try and knock it down. So that's a tough one, and they're going to have to take that. And unfortunately for South Africa, that was a great defensive set from Scotland. Actually, they would drive Ibn Etzebeth back, drove through, almost won the ball on the ground, but kicked it forward a little bit, and that's what's given the advantage to South Africa here.
How awesome. In terms of collisions as well, Ibn Etzebeth straight into Richie Gray, two of the biggest men in the game. What a collision. But South Africa, weirdly, I look at it a different way. It looks like they're making ground every time there's a ball carry, making decent carries and making yardage.
Right in the centre of the field, Manny Libbock. He's got plenty of time here, 25 seconds remaining to take this penalty attempt. It is straight on. It's about 35 metres out, and the air is still and hot, and Libbock now comes forward with that right boot, sends this one better, truer towards the post. Right between them it goes, and South Africa do now have their lead in the Stade Velodrome. 13 minutes gone. It is South Africa 3, Scotland 0. And again, that's what they would deserve. Scotland have not spent too much time in the South African half so far, but Scotland will be kicking themselves, or perhaps the referee, if they were prone to do such a thing, at a decision or two there. But also, you go back to source and that line out that Scotland lost when they did get into the South African half, and you can trace it back as Kinghorn gets Scotland going again. Deep it goes towards Jasper Wiese. The number 8 is already getting through a huge amount of work. So deep inside the South African 22, Faf de Klerk looks left and then looks right instead to the heavy men who are gathering there with menacing intent, and Etzebeth has it now with Kolisi alongside him, and Faf de Klerk just teasing it back, still inside the South African 22, about 10 metres from that far side touch. South Africa playing right to left as we look in their unfamiliar strip, their change strip, and the clearance is not too bad, and the assistant referee on that far side is running up to midway between the 10 metre line and the halfway line with his flag raised for the line out.
Yeah, I'd say a tidy-ish exit from South Africa. They made it a little bit complicated for themselves by, you know, taking 2 carries up there, but Faf de Klerk has been on point with his kicking so far, getting them out of the trouble situations when needed, and certainly searching for a few opportunities with the ball in hand.
Nervous line out for Scotland, but taken down this time by Richie Gray. Sack is fine, says the referee, as it goes down. Scotland might have been hoping that it was brought down, trying to get their maul moving. Oh, Russell just skirting round the defence, but under all sorts of pressure now, and the ball is loose, and Ben White salvages things right on halfway now, scooping up that loose ball. Scrum half's done well, so in comes Van der Merwe to play scrum half. Suddenly Xander Fagerson takes that ball from Russell and trundles over halfway. Scotland have barely had a chance to put phases together. Russell takes it as Scotland move it left to right now through the middle. Scotland make decent ground, carried on by Russell again, just spins round, looks at his options. The kick is half charged and then taken by Damien Delende right on halfway now for South Africa as they move it down this left hand blind side. Jesse Creel, the outside centre, carries it in. Faf de Klerk looking down the blind side, just popping it with that boot over the top, but plenty of time for Blair Kinghorn, a lone man inside the Scottish 22 to call for the mark.
It is, and you can see from our commentary position, the blitz defence from the box is so hard. The time they take away from Finn Russell outside of him, he has half second to look up, see which option he wants to take and execute, and it is really difficult. There he gets caught, double pumped a couple of times, man and ball. It is so difficult to play into a blitz defence.
Kinghorn has a huge boot, doesn't have an angle there for a right footer to find touch, though just sends it out of the way of Damien Willemse, who's the fullback chasing down his own kick. And now Blair Kinghorn, Scotland's fullback, has it under pressure, stretches back to give that ball. Schoeman, Pierre Schoeman, former South African under-20 player, into Jasper Wiese. I wonder if he's been hurt there. Schoeman, no, he's getting back to his feet, and the crowd crying foul as Mostert came through on Finn Russell, but South Africa have the ball. Libbock chasing down this kick, Russell takes it, oh, and Russell nearly through the middle. The gap was there for a moment but quickly shut down. Scotland with it just inside their own half. Schoeman juggles, pats it back, and it's gone deep over the head of well, they're coming back. I think they're checking infringement on Scotland by South Africa. Offside was the decision, so Scotland do have the penalty. All the while that play was going on, they were having a look at it. So Scotland spell. Finn Russell, referee Angus Gardner is telling Faf de Klerk to get back 10, and Finn Russell joins in, waving him away with a casual hand, saying get back there Faf, and Russell will send it towards this near side touch and try and buy Scotland as much ground as possible, and he will take play just about into the South African 22.
For just the edges, not
just watching the replay of that hit by Mostert and Russell, I'm not sure. I think that was fair enough.
Oh, he's committed to that. I mean, and you know, it's not high, it's not anything else, and Gardner was right there, so I don't think there's too much in that. But Finn Russell was almost away. My goodness, that was close. He had the ball in hand, and the field almost, you know, parted like the Red Sea, but then it shut very, very quickly.
George Turner, Scotland hooker, without his usual red scrum cap today, perhaps in the heat again. It's an overthrow. Jamie Ritchie can't get to it. Once more Malcolm Marx is there, and Delende, and onto Creel, and now South Africa really can counter. Damien Willemse, the fullback, charging down that far touchline, kicks the possession away though, when perhaps he might have been better just hanging on to it. Scotland able to clear, and back they come for a South African line out back inside their own half.
Yeah, Scotland need to sort out their line out, and quickly. That's two now. Over the tail they've gone. Overthrow. Two good launch plays in decent positions that they should have exploited, and they've gone begging. And against the Springboks, the world champs, you have to take these opportunities.
Just as the players take a breather before this next line out, back to the cricket and Nikesh Regani.
Well, there's been a wicket. New Zealand chasing 227 to win from their 34 overs. Have lost Finn Allen. Beautiful delivery from David Willey. Clean bowling him. Lovely in-swinger taking the middle stump. New Zealand 1 for 1 after 3 balls.
Thank you. New Zealand leading at the moment after the first one-day match, and the line-out goes well for South Africa, but and Scotland take out the man in the air as well, and it's Jamie Ritchie, the Scottish captain, who is singled out for the sin, and South Africa have the penalty. So the line-out, whether Scotland have the ball or South Africa have it, not going well for Scotland. And give Manny Libbok an opportunity. Just a faint patch of sunlight down there on that far side to send it. What a kick that is as well. That's gone into the Scotland 22, and a very good touch finder off that penalty, and it was Jamie Ritchie on Pieter-Steph du Toit.
Yeah, just something as well. That line out ended in a penalty, which ended in Manny Libbok going for the territory and the possession. Just for the young kids listening here, he's kicked that with his left foot, and he did it with the right foot on the other side of the field. So completely able to do that both sides of the field. What a difference, because it creates a great angle on both sides, and he's got the distance to prove it.
19 minutes gone. South Africa 3, Scotland 0. South Africa though inside the Scotland 22 and gather that ball safely, and a little breakaway on Damien Delende. Can't quite take the pop pass and knocks it forward off a big left hand. A rare mistake from the bestubbled centre. Is such a powerful, influential figure in midfield for South Africa, but a mistake which spares Scotland. And Xander Fagerson just having a chat now to the referee ahead of this scrum.
So I don't want to see any change of binds this side, okay?
Because it's Scotland's ball, but South Africa with the upper hand in the scrum. And just listening to that instruction to the front row there, Angus Gardner just saying to the South African front row, don't want you to be changing your bind.
Yes, you can.
And there's treatment is coming on because Malcolm Marx has got a huge amount of blood streaming down his face, so we'll have some treatment for that. And then a chance, it's a water break as well, mentioned at the 20-minute mark. On come the coolers, giant white coolers, everything in there you could desire, and they're handed out, but also with these ice towels as well. These are the breaks that World Rugby have allowed in these conditions, so everybody taking a chance for a breather and some sustenance.
Bobby, I wanted to ask you, the man that made that knock on Delende, a little bit contentious, his selection. A lot of Springbok fans were looking for a different 12 and 13 combo. What do you make of it?
Well, I just think that, as the squad's evolved, you certainly get players that are used for situations, and I think Delende's got an incredible record. He's played very well in these games. I mean, we know that Andre Esterhuizen has played incredibly well. I think he had a fantastic performance against the All Blacks and probably pushed Delende very, very close. This is disappointing because Damien Delende, that was a planned move. They'd done the break off the back of the line out, and then Damien Delende is at 12. I mean, I think he's 115 odd kilograms. I'm not sure what that is in stone. I think you can hopefully enlighten me, but the power that he's got to get over the advantage line and then release the outside backs, there was a knock-on which stopped that whole opportunity for South Africa.
I'm going to say 17 stone. That's just a wild guess, but someone can correct me. 115 kilos is about 17 stone, perhaps just north of that.
Not too bad for an inside centre.
And the rest.
Yeah, and the rest. 17 stone and 2 ounces. But we're just getting ready for a change because Bongi Mbanambi, the replacement hooker, is going to come on. A blood replacement at the moment for Malcolm Marks, who, as the players gather, Scotland down closest to us in a circle of blue, and they're having a chat as well as those ice towels draped around their necks and the drinks taken, because Malcolm Marks just having treatment to that bloodied face. Sia Khaleesi's having a chat with the referee as well. You've got to, as a captain, open those lines of communication with the referee. Not too much though. No, just when to rein it back. Jamie Ritchie sometimes can just be a little bit too chatty to the referee, and referees don't take kindly to that. But Sia Khaleesi seems to be on good terms with Angus Gardner. He's a very, very canny operator, Khaleesi.
Yeah, he is, and we know him as an empathetic captain, so he's an empathetic person, so he finds something to talk about that is, not maybe the contentious point at hand, and makes a friendship first, and then brings up whatever he needs to talk about.
Buy gifts, send roses to the family. We're just about to resume at the 20-minute mark. South Africa 3, Scotland 0 here in the 2023 Rugby World Cup from the Stade Velodrome in Marseille on 5 Live, on BBC Radio Scotland as well. And we will resume with a Scottish scrum, but inside their own 22, 15 metres from that far side touch. Scotland, as we look at it, attacking from left to right, and they're all blue strips. South Africa in that white and turquoise blend, which is rather unfamiliar, but they've been going well so far. I think 20 minutes gone. If you said a score, Scotland wouldn't be too unhappy with 3-0. But actually, in terms of play, South Africa had so much of the possession and the territory, and Scotland need a big scrum here. Ben White's getting ready to feed on that far side. They set, they come together. Faf de Klerk clapping his hands behind, and the ball comes away through Jack Dempsey, the Scottish number 8. Again, the former Wallaby picks and goes and makes a little bit of ground. Finn Russell has it now and sends it along the way of Damian Willemse, and the South African fullback with a bit of green acreage to run into, but then heads the way of Hugh Jones and Blair Kinghorn, who double team him to the ground. South Africa's still with it. Faf de Klerk feeds Kitsoff, the South African loose head, heading to Ulster after this World Cup. The ball to the ground. Jamie Ritchie thought it was there to have a little poke at, but it's still with South Africa. Malcolm Marks just frees it, and Faf de Klerk taking his time at the base here, and he will take the option to kick himself and sends it the way of Finn Russell. Just climbs into the air to take that ball down well. The Scotland fly up, he's buried beneath the bodies, but sets it back now for Ben White, rocked a little bit as he takes that ball and feeds Xander Fagerson. Scotland's tight head makes only a yard or two. South Africa contesting fiercely and slowing things down as well. So the caterpillar legs, the stretch back to protect Ben White here as the Scotland scrum half again charged down, this time by Etzebeth, and the loose ball hacked free by Kinghorn, but only coming the way of South Africa. Manny Libet looks at his options, moves it right towards Creel. South Africa with the ball again on the Scottish 10-metre line. 3-0 they lead, 21 minutes gone, and an opportunity attack down the left-hand side again. And Dale Endy carries it in, Colby adds his weight, but Scotland get the centre to touch, and a bit of afters and pushing and scuffling, and the crowd rise to this one, and everybody piling in. Well, half the team's piling in, and a few paws in faces and trying to free hands from jerseys, and still it continues. You get Jamie Ritchie and Eben Etzebeth. That's a brave effort from Jamie Ritchie, and Eben Etzebeth just a huge grin on his face as he says, "This does not trouble me," and sends the Scottish captain away. But everybody inside the Stade Velodrome, we frown and we tut and we say we don't want that. They do want it. They love it.
They absolutely love it. Everyone on their feet. A part of the game is gladiatorial, isn't it? Nobody taking a backward step. The penalty awarded to South Africa, after's coming. But the scramble defence from Scotland, George Turner coming across, bundling Dale Endy into touch. And everyone climbed in afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not sure what sparked it in particular, but just watching replays of Etzebeth and Jamie Ritchie again coming together. There might have been a little bit of a punch. They're going to have a look at something here on the big screen, so
Yeah, I think
I just want to know who started it, or was it both of them? They just fell on each other and they both took offence, did they? 9 and 12.
So Ben White and Damien de Allende are singled out
because they were involved in that tackle where Dalendi was pushed out, and I think maybe Ben White just being pleased with the fact that he'd stopped the attack, and Dalendi being a little bit embarrassed. So the two of them certainly had at least a look and a stern word.
Well, everyone around us is screaming punch. They're sure they've seen a punch. We're going to see it now on the big screen in front of us.
We're going to hear a chat first of all to the captains and de Allende and Ben White.
Guys, it's been a great game of footy so far. 20 minutes of a really good game. What we don't need is you guys taking offence at each other over a pretty mundane tackle over the sideline, and then for your teams to run in and scrap on like they did, okay? Guys, this game's not going to go down that way. So you two, calm down, and you guys just speak to your teams and calm it down. I don't want any more scrapping. Is that clear? Okay.
I think it might go down that way, Angus. Referee Angus Gardner. But we haven't seen the replay. They haven't shown it on the big screen. So I think Angus Gardner's saying, listen, fellas, we had a little bit of scuffling and huffing, and we're just going to play on. I'm surprised we didn't see a replay on it.
I will say one thing, though. The old school values, they've given the handshake and the pat on the back.
Big line out for George Turner. Jamie Ritchie just clutches it gratefully despite the attentions from South Africa. Scotland do win that line out ball, but it's rather slow and laboured to get the maul going. Down to ground it goes. Just outside the Scotland 22, right down in front of us on this near side touch. South Africa 3, Scotland 0. 22 minutes gone. Schoeman, the cries of shoo for Pierre Schoeman, the Edinburgh prop, playing for his adopted country. And there will be some Afrikaans chat going on that pitch today, I'm sure. And Ben White from the base of the ruck sends it downfield and sends it the way of Cheslin Colby, gathers it well and up against Darcy Graham, and Cheslin Colby nearly skips away, but Darcy Graham, that bleached blonde hair, grabs him round the ankles and gets him down. And here is Eben Etzebeth straight into the fray, chopped down around the ankles by Xander Fagerson. And South Africa's still with it, just inside their own half. The game's settling down a little bit, and Scotland creeping back into things in terms of territory, but back into the Scotland half we go with a kick, the way of Russell, who tries to get away from Colby, who's herring down on the Scotland flyer. Tuipulotu shackled well as well by Colby, so Colby up from his tackle, and Russell gets in on Tuipulotu, and penalty to South Africa, and that really has been hard earned by the South African wing, Cheslin Colby. It's a penalty to South Africa right on the Scotland 22.
A really good defensive attack, if you want, because he chased Finn Russell. He was not. I mean, he had a couple of Scottish guys to go around, but what he did, he got him around the ankles and then made the next tackle straight away. So very smart play from him. And I think it was Malcolm Marx. The number was the number was obscured for me. I think it was Malcolm Marx. Yeah, okay, Johnny, it was Malcolm Marx who got in. What a lovely steal from him there. You really want to protect that ball. As Scotland, you've got to get the big guys over that and not let the pilferers in.
And it's a South African statistic that eclipses everyone else in world rugby. Their ability to turn the ball over from kick or from the phase that ensues from that kick is something like 4 or 5 times the rest of the teams at the Rugby World Cup. They are so good at kick chase, squeezing and forcing turnover ball.
Well, Scotland haven't really had a chance to get their backs flying so far. The territory, the possession, both going the way of South Africa. The points at the moment as well. 3-0 they lead, and Manny Lubbock from about 12 metres in from this near side touch, just outside the Scotland 22. It's the good side for a right-footed kicker, and Lubbock, he's pretty useful off both, as Bobby Skinstad was saying. Johnny Beattie also alongside. Lubbock now, the crowd drops the volume for Lubbock to step forward, and he struck that beautifully. You can hear the sound of it even from here and see it sailing between the uprights. So South Africa double their lead inside the Stade Velodrome. 24 and a half minutes gone. South Africa 6, Scotland 0, and Scotland competing so far, but not really threatening. Haven't seen much play at all in the South African 22, and so far 2 penalties from Manny Lubbock is good enough. Well, RG Snyman is getting ready to come on, just about the largest person on the planet, but he's waiting to come on for South Africa, the second row, with his Mohican, but he'll have to wait a little bit longer because South Africa is still attacking, but from their own 22. No, it's been lost, and Schoeman has it for Scotland. Sure who Snyman's going to be coming on for. We'll keep an eye on that one as he waits on the touchline, and Scotland now do have an opportunity, and Hugh Jones can't quite take that ball. He was through the gap, but the ball was just behind him. He was then well shackled after that, but just for the first time a glimpse of the angles that Scotland are able to find, and they'll come back for a Scottish scrum just inside the South African 22.
4 white sub.
And it's going to be Franco Mostert who is going off the South African second row, and Snyman coming on.
Just the mark knock on.
No, I think it's Eben Etzebeth.
Oh, it is Etzebeth, you're right.
He doesn't like leaving the field, so he must have done something. But what a lovely ball from Finn Russell. I mean, Hugh Jones was under the poles if he picked that one up.
I didn't see anything happen to Eben Etzebeth, and he's walking off. He's walking off comfortably. I don't know if you saw anything, Bobby. It doesn't look too troubled.
No, I didn't, but I did see the physio go over to him now on the side of the field and have a chat. And yeah, I'm sure he's signalled. If he's uncomfortable with something, he would have told him, and that's why I didn't see any blood injury or anything like that. But he might have tweaked something that we can't see.
He's just superhuman. We can't even tell. He's in serious pain, but he's just walked off. No smirk,
yes,
nothing given away.
He's got a double fracture of the leg, and he says nothing wrong with it. Anyway, sometimes it's the more innocuous looking injuries that can be more serious. So hope for South Africa's sake that Eben Etzebeth is okay. RG Snyman, 6'9" of him, is on the Munster second row. Now Scotland have a wonderful attacking position here. Scrum inside the South African 22, and they have a free kick. They had the backs lined up in an I formation behind that scrum, and now they can move it. Now they can shift it wide to Darcy Graham, but the South African defence quickly shuts him down. He skips past one up to within 8 metres. It's there still for Scotland. White moves it left now. Oh, Faf de Klerk firing up, but there's space suddenly for Scotland. That tackle had to be made by South Africa, and from that knock-on, my goodness, the blue shirts were lining up outside there. Now that's an interesting decision. You can understand why the crowd are booing, but that was a tackle that had to be made, because with Faf de Klerk,
it's a genuine attempt to intercept that.
Just listening to the
Finn before, where he just stood and blocked it, so it's just a knock on,
because it could have been deemed as an intentional knock on, but it's a genuine attempt to get the ball, says Angus Gardner.
Yeah, Angus Gardner was right. He says I feel like he jumped into there to get that ball. I mean, if it I would imagine that it would be reviewed, and he's gone for the ball.
Yeah, there's some boos from the Scotland fans, but of course they're boos of hope. It's Curtly Aronsa. He's gone for the ball. Pierre Schoeman has it, and he's got 2 hands up there, Bobby.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, in my mind, you can't say he's knocked that down on purpose at all.
But it just shows the South African the knock on Finn Russell as well. You can see he's really hurtling with his ribs, but it's just the all or nothing defensive type that South Africa have. There's a 5-man overlap there. If that ball goes, Scotland are under the sticks. But it's the quality of reading defensively by those wingers to come up and pick off a man.
Well, both sides feeling it here now, because we've got bandage being applied. Finn Russell's in a bad way here. He's taken a huge hit to the ribs, and this doesn't look good for Finn Russell at all.
Well, it doesn't look good for Finn Russell, but I don't think we should hide from the fact this has been an incredibly physical game. There's been some massive hits. We've seen a couple of instances, where players have. Oh.
Well, it's Curtly Aronsa. It's interesting that Curtly Aronsa, who's gone in, is one of the smaller men in the field, and he's inflicted the damage. They're going to have a check. They're going to have a look at this.
Show you a no arms challenge by 10 blue.
So Finn Russell is actually just under examination himself.
Attempt by the South African winger. Number 10 comes in with no arms.
Finn Russell is actually back and seems to be fit-ish, but he's in trouble here because
we haven't got any replays.
They're going to look at his challenge on Curtly Aronsa.
Whereas I would have flipped that. It almost looked like Aronsa went into that challenge offensively with his elbow up, and that's what's clobbered Finn Russell's ribs.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, listen.
So he just continues on. Yeah. Okay.
At that stage, the whistle had gone there.
Yeah. There's no head contact for me.
Agreed.
And it's kind of just like he overruns and then rams into him and doesn't use the arm. So I'm just at penalty only.
So it's going to be a penalty
Anything to add
against
there?
Scotland,
Okay.
against Finn Russell, but no more than that. And the good news for Scotland is that Finn Russell looks to be okay physically now.
Yeah. So it is going to be a penalty against you. You haven't used your arms. There's no head contact, so it's just a penalty only. Just be careful, please, okay? I know.
What do you make of that, Bobby, Johnny?
Well, Johnny and I were just discussing it. Look, to be honest, there was definitely no yellow card incident at all, and both of them could have been given the same thing. I think they were sort of trying to get out the way of each other, weren't they? I don't think there was any intent whatsoever from Finn Russell, but maybe the referee said that he's come in and he's carried on through. I wish we had a sound on that, because then we could tell when the whistle had gone.
Kurtley Aronsa has been patched up. Manny Lubbock has the ball now, and from that very promising attack, as Johnny said, it was a 5-on-1. It just couldn't get the ball wide to the free men, and Kinghorn from that penalty tries to field it and keep it in play, but can't. So South Africa will have the line out now just outside the Scottish 22. On such decisions, games can turn, and South Africa back deep into the Scotland half. So ready for this line out. 27 minutes gone. South Africa 6, Scotland 0. South Africa again untroubled at the line out and start to move it left now, and then through the middle they come, making good ground. They're dominant in collision, South Africa, driving their way up towards the Scotland 22. Right in the centre of the field just now, Faf de Klerk gets it out to Pieter-Steph du Toit, and then on to Kitsoff, the loose head. Scotland trying to hold him up again, which is surely a forlorn task. Right, it goes to Mostert alongside R.G. Snyman now, his lock partner, with Eben Etzebeth off injured. We do not know what, but he is off receiving treatment. Damien Willemse has it now and spins through the challenge. South Africa attacking right to left as we look down from up in the third tier of the Stade Velodrome. And South Africa leading 6-0, 20 minutes gone, and they lose that ball in collision. Schoeman now shifts it to Kinghorn, thinks he sees a bit of space, rather scoops that kick up in the air, and Colby can take it now for South Africa on their own 10-metre line. Cheslin Colby deciding to send it high. It's not made too much ground forward. Who's going to claim it? And two Scottish hands going for it there, getting rather in the way of each other. Duan van der Merwe now takes it, frees himself from the challenge of Willemse. Scotland with it, and White, well, South Africa trying to get hands on him to slow things down. Russell looks to be okay now, over the head of Colby towards touch, and Cheslin Colby just keeps that in play. Right back on the South African line. Great play by the winger, who's on his own. Not the greatest technique with his kick, but he has at least eased the pressure, and there is the threat of Finn Russell seeing the space, executing it nearly to perfection.
That was almost an unbelievable 50-22, but wow, look at the skill from Cheslin Colby. He's not out. Oh, what a piece of skill. I mean, literally game of inches.
Over the top from Scotland. Tuipulotu has it. Oh, nearly the interception by Creel. It's on now for Scotland. Darcy Graham can't quite free that ball. It was a 3-on-1. Graham goes himself and is taken down inside the South African 22. It's still there for Scotland. White to Richie Gray. Finn Russell moves out to Schoeman. Two white shirts come barreling in on him. Jesse Creel doing so well, and R.G. Snyman. Right, Scotland move it just outside the South African 22. Tuipulotu, well watched now. What a chance it was for Scotland to score the first try as the ball goes left. Xander Fagerson, that blitz defence. This time it was Pieter-Steph du Toit coming up so quickly, and the ball is there, and South Africa steal it, and now they can counter. Kitsoff moves it to Jesse Creel. Ugly kick through by Creel, but the chase is on. Willemse trying to get there, and Scotland looking rather tired as they get back. The ball is on the Scotland side, but now just inside their own 10-metre line. Scotland cannot move it quickly enough. The bodies are out there on the left-hand side, but already South Africa in that firm line of defence. Finn Russell chips it out wide. Oh, and Darcy Graham looks rather tired, man, on the wing, and he just waves his arms, says, I can't get to that. Out it goes. But my goodness, what opportunity there for Scotland.
Oh, a lovely piece of creativity again. The ball goes over the 16 from the line out, the wraparound play, and Darcy Graham, the 3-on-1 is created. He just has to give it on the outside to Van der Merwe. And Finn Russell trying to exit out of his 22. Right idea again, trying to beat that blitz defence, but just the execution with the cross kick. Another opportunity handed back to South Africa now.
Well, I tell you, Scotland, 10 out of 10 for execution there. What a lovely move. It was a long throw over the back of the line-out, which is usually the platform from which you get caught up in, and then wide they went. Manny Lubbock with the last-ditch tackle.
Suddenly we come back to a South African line-out though, and Franco Mostert this time, untouched in the sky, takes it down at the heart of that line-out. A good drive by Scotland in defence, but Siya Kolisi now moves it on to Aronsa, the wing. Again, so elusive, steps left and right, and then Faf de Klerk gives it on to the bulldozer, Delendi. And the centre carries it. R.G. Snyman, vast man, takes it deeper into the Scotland 22. So from Scotland, threatening a try. It's South Africa now. Loose ball, opportunity. Oh, the pass goes to ground. Cheslin Colby gathers it and now skirts around the suburbs as he goes deeper into the 22 now, right through midfield. Still there for South Africa. Faf de Klerk gives it left. South Africa thought they had an overlap. Ball goes loose. Kinghorn has it just about on the Scotland line. 32 minutes gone inside the Stade Velodrome. South Africa 6, Scotland 0. And South Africa so close to that Scotland line, but the ball is with the blue shirts, and they take all the time. Ben White, the scrum half, decides to clear, and applause from the thousands inside the Stade Velodrome, but he's not going to take play outside the Scottish 22. He says to the assistant, surely it was a little bit further up that touchline, but my goodness, sometimes the pace of this game.
Wow, what a match. I mean, hats off to Scotland for the scrambled defence there, but South Africa trying everything, just little bits of possession, little bits of space, and moving into the Scottish 22, and then losing the ball, putting the ball on the foot. I would never have guessed that they would give away such good possession and throw it away. Well defended, Scotland. South Africa still on the attack though.
Malcolm Marks line out right down in front of us again. Once more it's Mostert who takes it down. Black hair in the heart of that line out. RG Simon came flinging out the side of that maul there, but South Africa are moving it on well. The maul is starting to move. First real attacking maul we've seen, and Scotland's defence is splintering. South Africa 15 metres out, and they change the point of attack. Good defence in the end by Scotland. Down it goes, and Scotland do get the scrum. Well defended in the end. And down in front of us to our left, a huge man in a red and black kilt leaps to his feet and punches there and waves his Scotland flag. And these are the small battles, even in defence, even deep inside the Scotland 22, that Scotland have to cling to.
Just getting up that way.
Just looking down, I think Grant Gilchrist has taken a knock. Now the second row is being helped to his feet by James Robson. Just from a player's point of view, Johnny, how hard is it playing in a game like this, in this heat, the intensity of the contest and the collisions as well?
Well, look, when you're defending and you're soaking and you're forced to absorb like this, it is absolutely atrocious. You cannot underestimate, yes, the conditions, but when you're not in control, when you're forced to chase shadows, when you're chasing back kicks and you're not in control of ball or possession, it's awful. I've been there in the top 14 for years, never adapted to it. It's atrocious for everyone, not just white Scotsmen like me. It's appalling for everyone, but for Scotland now, you could see the last 2-3 phases, South Africa in possession, they were out on their feet, so the psychological edge and the boost from winning that maul turnover is huge.
And then you have to get back up after that lung-busting phase, and you have to scrummage. Scotland's ball 12 metres from this near side touch and about 15 metres from their own try line. So South Africa will be putting the pressure on here. Those white shirts of South Africa and those turquoise shorts bend and fold into position, and they come together, and Scotland will just look to get this moving. Rock solid scrum that time. Faf de Klerk is through, and Dempsey does well. The scrum half Dempsey, well, in the end he did well to get that ball clear. Willemse comes careering forward onto that clearance kick, and the South African fullback chasing down his own kick now. On the fringes of the 22, Mostert has it, but there was a knock on by South Africa. Scotland scrum just inside the Scotland 22, and another man is down injured for Scotland. Is it Pierre Schoeman this time? Just looking to see, but again it's taking its toll physically, as we knew it would. This is no easy introduction to the World Cup for either side here. Still South Africa leading, but only by 6 points to 0. The two penalties from Manny Libbok, 35 minutes gone. I think Scotland would be grateful, even though they had a wonderful chance of the opening try of the game a few minutes ago. I think they would be grateful to get in at half-time at 6-0 and count their bruises and recharge and move on.
And they'll take great confidence from those shots that they've managed to fire as well. They bust South Africa open twice. They just haven't finished. So yes, 6-0, they haven't had any possession really. But getting into the sheds at half-time, big psychological boost. We can cause havoc. Let's keep it going second period.
Tackles made by Scotland 58, by South Africa 35. So Scotland working harder in defence. And again, the Scotland players just taking a moment. South Africa are ready to scrummage here, and Scotland are taking every moment available to towel themselves down with those cool towels and take a little bit of water. We had that pre-arranged break at the 20-minute mark for water.
Same again, boys.
Same again, says Angus Gardner, the referee, as we get ready to scrummage once more. Once again, it's Scotland's ball, and this time just a little bit further infield. 15 metres, 16 metres from this near side touch as we look down, and right on the 22, Scotland in those dark blue strips, shirts and shorts and white socks. South Africa in their change strip as the instructions come in from the referee.
Good.
Scotland had a good scrum last time. It looks pretty solid again, but are South Africa just biding their time? Here comes the shove, down goes the front row. Penalty to Scotland this time. Not steady, says Angus Gardner.
8.
And back go South Africa, rather chastened, or rather disagreeing with Angus Gardner on that one. They say it is impossible for us to be penalised at the scrum. It doesn't happen too often. Referees see what they see, and sometimes again it's about convincing the referee that you have something good going at the scrum.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we've got an aerial view of it, if you want, or 45 degrees aerial view, and it really looked like Scotland had the edge there. I think Frans Malherbe did potentially lose his footing and go down. So, you know, all's fair in love and war. Even scrums need to be looked at from both sides.
Bobby Skinstad, man of 3 World Cups, World Cup winner alongside us. Johnny Beattie here as well. Former Scotland international is Tuipulotu, makes wonderful ground through the middle, taken down eventually by Malcolm Marks. And now can Scotland find some gaps as their captain Ritchie takes it on up to the South African 10-metre line. Right it goes to Russell on halfway. Schoeman, the ball carrier. Oh, he's met well by Malcolm Marks there, and there was a little knock on in that collision. And back they'll come now for the South African scrum. It's when you watch a lot of rugby and you see a lot of collisions, but it seems to be a collision into a South African defender is an entirely different thing. Schoeman's a huge man, just lost the ball in the contact with the hooker Malcolm Marks.
Yeah, that was a really good hit from Malcolm Marks. And Schoeman, I think he's been outstanding for Scotland, and Edinburgh, he's a folk hero when he comes on the field. He's got a couple of guys shouting his name here, and I think, you know, a player like that lifts everybody around him. You know, Malcolm Marks probably thought, here's my chance. I've got a chance to have a pop at him. Luckily, he's gone for a legal tackle and created the knock-on. But you know what? A knock-on results in another scrum. So let's see if Scotland get the ascendancy again.
What would be the Afrikaans for "I got the better of you" there, Bobby, or words to that effect?
Keep it square here.
Yep. No, I think it's just a pleasurable grunt.
All right, okay. I don't speak Afrikaans, but there'll be some going on down there again. Malcolm Marks meeting Pierre Schoeman. Down goes the scrum, both front rows seeming to collapse there. So in come other players and slap backs and say, that was good, we had that one there. Again, just to convince the referee. But it's right on, well, just inside the South African half, but right in the middle of the field. The faint outline of the centre circle of a football pitch, the home of Olympique Marseille. A great French side that play here.
It's going to be a little bit longer from bind to set, okay? I just want a bit more stability and then I'll call set, so just patience.
So Angus Gardner saying, I'm just going to change my timing of my calls here, and it's quite an important thing. As the hookers set their break foots forward, they've got to have one foot slightly in front of the other. It's a safety precaution. And then they wait for Scotland. It's Schoeman, Turner and Fagerson in the front row. For South Africa, Kitsoff, Marks and Frans Malherbe. And now, with just a minute remaining in this first half, is there a final attack here for South Africa? It's their ball. Scotland getting the scrum, and they get the penalty. And what a fillip, what a boost. Richie Gray and others roaring there in celebration. Xander Fagerson almost squaring up to Kitsoff. That is a rare moment of one-upmanship in the scrum against the Springboks, and it's Frans Malherbe in particular, whose referee Angus Gardner said he went to his knee. Scotland have a penalty, and it's kickable. And Jamie Ritchie points immediately to the post. So the final touch in this first half will be a penalty from Finn Russell, earned by a scrum. Mighty scrum by Scotland.
Yeah, really good scrum by Scotland. You can see Malherbe and actually Erge Snyman had popped out, so he wasn't supporting, he wasn't behind him. And look at the joy that, you know, the whole team embraced him immediately.
See, there was some Afrikaans pronunciation. So R.G. Snyman is...
Erge Snyman.
Erge. What is he, Rudolf Gerardus? Or,
yeah, probably something like that. I'm not sure.
Something like that. He said, faintly criticising my pronunciation, and rightly so. So the final touch here, we're looking at the shot clock. Johnny Beattie was pointing at it. It's down to 20 seconds already. Right in the centre of field for Finn Russell. Looked groggy a few minutes ago as he took that hit to the ribs. But here to give Scotland, with a final touch of the first half, their first points, and bring Scotland within 3. 5 seconds remaining on the shot clock. Oh, he's picking up the tee already, Finn Russell. The cheers from the Scotland fans go up, the arms go up from the blue-clad supporters, because Scotland will come out of that first half as the referee's whistle go with just a 3-point deficit. Thoughts, Johnny Beattie and Bobby Skinstad, on that one? Just quick summing up.
I think Scotland will be delighted to go in 6-3 there. The mental shift from the turnover, scrum time down under their own sticks, and then shoving South Africa off their own ball on the halfway line to get a penalty to go in to the shed. Big momentum shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And that swing is so important. South Africa will be a bit disappointed. They're going to want to go into the change rooms and unpick where this has gone wrong. Scotland will be celebrating their ability to counter the South African scrum pressure.
Great half of rugby, and South Africa lead by 6 points to 3.
And Finn Russell is one cool cat, isn't he? He knew that penalty was sailing through the post before it really had left his boot, picked up the tee and said, that's half-time. Scotland trailing by 6 points to 3. But Johnny Beattie, such key momentum shifters in that sort of last 20 minutes. As you said, the scrum under the posts, the turnover, and then that scrum there. Could define and change games, those moments?
They can build confidence, and that's infectious. The different moments, a maul turnover, turning over a Springbok scrum. Scotland also, they'll know. Greg will bring them back and he'll say, you've fired 2 shots. We've miscued a few line-outs, parked those, but we fired 2 shots. We've broken this Springbok defensive line wide open twice. South Africa have had all the possession and Scotland haven't broken yet. They've bended, they've creaked, but they haven't been broken. They haven't conceded a try. So that'll be a massive shot in the arm. They'll spring down the tunnel. They will be exhausted, but those mental elements are also important. They want to carry that momentum into this second half and challenge this Bokke side.
Scotland are alive in Marseille. It's South Africa 6, Scotland 3. We will be back for what is going to be an enthralling second half here at the Rugby World Cup. That's after the news on 5 Live with Dan Maudsley.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
A road leading to the parts of Morocco worst hit by Friday's earthquake has been cleared, allowing vital assistance to reach people affected. More than 2,000 people have been killed and many others injured in the quake. David Whitwick is from UK Med, a British charity which is deploying a team of aid workers to Morocco.
The focus right now will be on search and rescue, but very rapidly that's going to move to provision of services for those people who are injured or in need or displaced. And we bring medical care in one way or another. It's getting in to see what the situation is, but more to the point, how we can work best with the local Ministry of Health and the local communities.
Rishi Sunak has told the Chinese Premier that he has very strong concerns about Beijing's interference in British politics after a parliamentary researcher was arrested on suspicion of spying for China. The man, who was arrested under the Official Secrets Act, has links to several Conservative MPs. He's since been released on bail. Salma Shah is a former advisor in the Home Office.
I think it's a big concern in terms of diplomacy with China. So I think the diplomats are going to have to do a lot of work to understand what has prompted this and what has motivated it. I think in terms of the seriousness of this researcher, it's about influence. It's not about exposing secrets as far as we can tell at this point.
The Justice Secretary has confirmed that about 40 inmates have been transferred from Wandsworth Prison in response to the escape last week by Daniel Khalif. Alex Chalk also said preliminary inquiries had confirmed that the correct security protocols and staffing levels were in place at the time of the escape. The Trade Union Congress says it's reporting the UK government to the United Nations watchdog on workers' rights because of a new law which will require some employees to work during strikes. The TUC says the legislation falls short of international legal standards. The government says it protects the lives and livelihoods of the general public. And the Manchester United winger Anthony has agreed to delay his return to the club while allegations of abuse against him are investigated. He was withdrawn from Brazil's squad for 2 World Cup qualifying matches following the accusations made by his former girlfriend. Anthony has denied any wrongdoing.
BBC 5 Live.
The voice of sport. England travel to Hampden Park to take on Scotland in an international friendly.
It's a chance, McTominay again! He scores! Side-footed into the bottom right-hand corner.
Hear live commentary Tuesday evening from 7:45.
Kane to Saka, who's on for the hat-trick! And he scores it with his left foot!
Scotland versus England on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Every game live. Rugby World Cup 2023 on 5 Live, Radio 5 Sports Extra and the BBC Sport website with Sonia McLaughlin.
In the sunshine in Marseille, enjoying an epic collision encounter between South Africa and Scotland, with the defending champions just 6-3 ahead at half-time. We will be right back for the second half. Later, it's Wales' first bow at this World Cup when they take on Fiji at 8 o'clock. We'll have commentary of that right here on 5 Live. In other sport, let's get going. New Zealand chasing 227 to win the one-dayer at Southampton. Nikesh Ragani.
Yep, and they're chasing that off just 34 overs. They've just lost their second wicket, though. Devon Conway dismissed by Gus Atkinson. A really good, sharp effort to court and bowl him for just 14. So Will Young is still there. New Zealand now 49 for 2 after 9 overs.
And after Wales against Fiji on 5 Live, we're going to go to the US Open men's final. That will start on Sports Extra at 9 o'clock, and then immediately after Wales-Fiji, we'll have coverage here on 5 Live Sport, which will be led in New York by our correspondent, Russell Fuller. We know it's Novak Djokovic against Daniil Medvedev in that final. Djokovic, of course, going for his 24th Grand Slam title. Hello, Russ.
Hello, Sonia. Yes, it's all about the history for Novak Djokovic again, isn't it? The 24th Grand Slam title would break his tie for the Open-era record with Serena Williams, and it would also match the all-time mark that Margaret Court set of 24 Grand Slam titles won. And he might be 36, but he was saying actually just the other day that physically he feels as good as he has done at any point in the last few years. So age is just a number for Novak Djokovic, even though he'll be giving 9 years to Daniil Medvedev.
I think a lot of neutrals might have been hoping for a rematch of Novak Djokovic against Carlos Alcaraz that we saw in the Wimbledon final, but Daniil Medvedev's had other ideas about that. How big a threat here is he to Djokovic?
A huge threat. Beat him in the final 2 years ago when Djokovic was chasing the calendar Grand Slam, trying to win all 4 slams in the same year. And he's playing absolutely brilliantly in New York. He stands so far behind the baseline to receive serve, but still is able to impart a lot of power and depth on the ball. As Carlos Alcaraz says, he basically returns from his own house. But he can be very dangerous from that position. He is full of confidence, and I think this is going to be really, really close indeed.
And in the wheelchair singles final, the British pair who played doubles together, Gordon Reid and Alfie Hewitt, well, they are the 2 finalists. They go up against each other. They spoke about what it's like to be going up against someone who's quite so familiar.
It means a lot, especially with the way that last year went for me with my wrist injury. The uncertainty around that to reach another Grand Slam singles final. It's a great feeling, and we've come up against each other so many times in the past, but Alfie's been very consistent at the slams in the recent years, and I've struggled a little bit more. So, obviously, these are the stages we want to be on, and I'm sure we'll both be looking forward to a historic final.
When we go out there, it will just be 2 singles players that want to bring home a Grand Slam singles title, and we know each other's games very well. We're very open with our doubles partnership, so there's no secrets in there. But I think that's what makes our matches so entertaining. Is it's like a game of chess, you have to think ahead and really try to tactically play the match well and execute it obviously at the same time. And I think there's a lot of similarities in our games as well, so it creates a good display of wheelchair tennis, and hopefully we can showcase that on Sunday.
Fascinating matchup, this one, Russell, with the 2 Brits who just know each other inside out. So what are you expecting from the final?
Well, Alfie Hewitt has had the edge over Gordon Reid in recent years. The wrist injury that Reid had last year certainly didn't help. It's 7 years since Reid won a Grand Slam singles title, 4 years since he's been in the final. So Alfie Hewitt definitely the favourite, trying to win a 4th US Open title and an 8th Grand Slam singles title overall. And a real moment of history, because this is the first time in 55 years of Open-era tennis that there has been a Grand Slam singles final of any kind between 2 British players.
Intriguing. Thanks very much, Russ. That's Russell Fuller. You will hear him on 5 Live a little bit later, because that's where you'll hear the final of the men's singles champ title at Flushing Meadows. And it'll start though on Sports Extra at once. Because of Wales-Fiji, it will go on to the main network when that match is finished. I just butchered that completely, but you get the idea. Let's move on to track and field. One of Britain's greatest long-distance runners, Sir Mo Farah, I can say that, ran competitively for the final time this morning. He finished 4th in the Great North Run, just outside the podium. How frustrating. After the race, he reflected on his illustrious career.
It was everything to me. As you know, I shared my story of what I went through as a child, and running is what saved me. And without having something to do and something that could make me happy, it would have been very difficult for me. And also, I just want to thank everyone who's been part of my journey. You see me as the Olympic champion and get the medal, hang down, you hear the national anthem, and that's you. But what we forget is the people who's behind you. Honestly, without the support of the people in my life, I wouldn't have got to the place I have, and particularly my wife, who gone through a lot, who's looking after the kids when time's away, when things are difficult. Without her support, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't have got to the place I have. And honestly, it's very emotional, because I guess, I have to just go and enjoy myself now, time with my family and my kids. But all I know is running, and that's what made me happy for so many years. And at times I struggled, times I made, got to race wrong, got to race right. But you learn about it and you understand more. And when you win something, you don't quite appreciate it as much as when you lose. And last couple of years, honestly, I struggled with many injuries, many times, doubt myself. And it's been a hard journey, because I haven't had the Olympics. If the Olympic came at the right time, I wanted to end my career at the Olympics, and that was the moment for me. I imagine and thinking, this is it. But it didn't go quite planned, and you move on.
That's Gabby Logan with the questions there, and Mo Farah certainly leaving his mark on track and field, hasn't he? 10 global gold medals, back-to-back double at Olympic Games. His legacy is assured. We're going to go to chat to Rhys Patchell and Gareth Lewis next, because they've made their way to the Stade Bordeaux, because the final match of the weekend sees Wales start their World Cup campaign against the very dangerous Fiji. Hello, Gareth.
Hi, Sonia. How are you?
I'm really good, really enjoying this match between South Africa and Scotland. It's a fantastic occasion here in Marseille. We've had streams of fans here all weekend. England yesterday, and now South Africa and Scotland. What sort of atmosphere have you got down in Bordeaux?
It's been brilliant, Sonia. We got here Friday morning. There were already tens of thousands of Ireland fans in town by that point for the game yesterday against Romania, and they certainly weren't disappointed with what they saw. And then throughout the weekend, tens of thousands of Wales fans have joined them. Very, very red in the centre of Bordeaux. And this is a city, actually, for Welsh sports fans, because people tend to follow the football and the rugby. We don't really differentiate very much in Wales. This was the stadium, this was the city where Wales played in Euro 2016, their opening match against Slovakia. First appearance for 58 years in the major football finals, and they won. So really, really happy memories for Wales, for Welsh sports fans, and I hope that Wales' rugby players, under a bit of pressure, because this is a really strong Fiji side who are above Wales in the world rankings, that they can deliver something as memorable as the footballers did back in 2016.
And you'll have Rhys Patchell alongside you on commentary on 5 Live a little later, and he's with you now. Hello again, Rhys.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good, really enjoying it here. Now you've got to the stadium in Bordeaux, what emotions does that trigger as you look forward to seeing Wales open their campaign?
I think I was quite happy soaking up the atmosphere earlier on this afternoon when we were speaking a couple of hours ago, but now you sit here, you see an empty stadium, you see the warm-up and the cones and everything out, and the tackle shields ready to go. This is probably the moment where I get that itch of thinking, gosh, actually how cool would it be to be down with the players either on the bus or in the changing rooms, wherever they are right now. This is the moment that I get the itch and thinking, no, it'd be great to be out in the middle.
And we were talking earlier about this team that Wales have picked. It's really, really experienced. How confident are you that they can get off to a positive start here today?
Yeah, I'd be pretty confident if I was Wales. They'll have a fairly simple framework that they want to implement today. A very disciplined, structured game, I should imagine. Don't feed Fiji any loose kicks with an opportunity that they're going to have to counter-attack, try and minimise the penalty count, and generally I think it'll be a very engrossing game that you won't be able to take your eyes off, but I'm hopeful from a Welsh perspective that it won't be the try fest that Wales-Fiji served us in 2007 in Nantes.
Yeah, let's hope not for Wales fans. Thanks to Gareth Lewis and to Rhys Patchell. The teams are out again. Scotland ready to kick off here in Marseille. Second half, Scotland against South Africa. Andrew Cotter.
And just 3 points in it. And everybody filing back to their seats again inside this cavernous arena with the sweeping curves of the roof, and the sunlight that remains has made it all the way to the top tier. The fourth tier on the far side, up towards the giant flags of Scotland and South Africa, which hang there limp. No breeze at all creeping in. Still that blue sky overhead, all shade down in the depths on the pitch. And from the restart, South Africa send the return back the way of Scotland, but the game breaking up initially, and an opportunity for Scotland to attack. But there's a little knock on there from Scottish paws. I think it might have been Xander Fagerson. So South Africa will have the scrum. And news from South Africa, there has been an inquiry into the loss of that scrum, that penalty, just before half time. And the whole country is talking about it, so they'll be looking to make sure, Bobby Skinstad, that never happens again.
Well, I tell you what, you've got to take credit where it's due, and Scotland came back. Those last couple of minutes of the first half were all theirs. You've got to say it doesn't matter where they were playing. South Africa had too many chances in the Scottish territory not to close it out and be happy with that, you know. So I think this scrum now, I'm sure they've spent, the big men, the big front rows have spent 15 minutes discussing exactly what's going to happen in these next few seconds.
So together they come, and South Africa will put everything into this scrum. Faf de Klerk has it and feeds on that far side, and South Africa moving forward. They'll be getting a penalty here. There we are, just like that. Again, the natural order restored. And the ideal start to the second half for South Africa. That was hard to watch, and all the slapping and the whooping and the hollering from the Scotland pack at that effort at the scrum just before half time. What's just watching Rassie Erasmus there on our monitor. They're going to take a long shot at goal here through Manny Lubbock. What's he doing, Johnny? He's shining down a light down onto the pitch.
So every time there's a yellow light flash, that's kick a goal. So he's making decisions for the players that's removed from them, which is quite rare.
Yep.
Illegal, I've no idea. But that's it. It's how he's getting his messages on. They look up, the decision's made, and off you go. Smart, but he's a guy that thinks out the box. Don't get me wrong. The guy's been phenomenal the way he's challenged water boy rules, lighting rules, all the different conditions. So a different way of coaching, but personally, I love it. An
extraordinary figure, Rassie Erasmus. Bobby, you'll know him well, but just seeing a shot of Ibn Etzebeth on the bench. I think he's all right, Ibn Etzebeth, but he's taken some injury, so not able to continue. But might be his shoulder. Yep. So anyway, we'll just have a look at this penalty, and then we'll have some Rassie Erasmus chat, because he's a lively character. Gets himself in a bit of bother sometimes, but the South African director of rugby, Jacques Nienaber, is the head coach. Everyone's watching on here as the clock ticks down for Manny Lubbock again into 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Forward he comes from just inside the South African half. It's never going to get there, a long way shy. Not sure about that decision, because if they'd put Scotland under pressure, kicking it down touch and taking the line out might have been a better option, but Scotland return that kick, and Damien Delende just goes charging into contact with it. Faf de Klerk flaps out his arms and complains that something only scrum half see. 3 minutes gone in this first half. South Africa attacking left to right as we look. Sia Khaleesi head down straight into the fray. Ball goes loose but goes backwards. Lovely work by Faf de Klerk to scoop it on to Damien Delende, and he's up to almost the Scottish 22. Quick ball as well, and through the middle goes the Jasper Wiese is there, taken down by Grant Gilchrist. The ball's still there for South Africa, and it's quick ball as well that South Africa are getting. Scotland's defence, Marshall's just inside their own 22, and it's into the 22 now. South Africa go through Delende, then he's repelled, then Faf de Klerk gives it on right to Kitsoff. Little pop to Malcolm Marx, who's upended by George Turner, who again just gets in low around the ankles and the knees, and he's got to be careful sometimes. Turner with his tackle technique, and through the middle Frans Malherbe onto Jesse Creel, wide to Darenze, and Kurtley Arenza has it 5 metres out. Faf de Klerk now. South Africa threatening the first try of the game. Carried in to Klerk, again goes right, this time to Snyman, and Kinghorn comes in. What a challenge by the full-back, but just lost forward by Kinghorn in that contact. So South Africa will have the scrum, and de Klerk is signalling. Faf de Klerk saying, was it a legal challenge by Blair Kinghorn? It was certainly a brave one, but South Africa will have the scrum 10 metres out anyway.
Yeah, they'll have a good attacking option. Lovely little flick through the legs there from Faf de Klerk.
Let's go. No, let's go. You come all the way over here. Let's go, please.
What a lovely
now
spreading of the ball as well. There's Kirtley Arndt, who's actually, he hasn't got as much ball as he would have liked, though, but the moment that was fantastic there was big Frans Malherbe with in the most space you've ever seen, and in his eyes he was just terrified. He didn't want to run the next 40 metres to get under the poles.
Well, the referee is urging them to come forward and scrummage again. We'll be getting an update from the Ageas Bowl in just a moment, the second one-day international between England and New Zealand. But here we have a scrum, and here we have the noise from the Springbok fans right at the start of this second half. Scottish supporters meet it with some defiance and hope that Scotland can survive this scrum. South African scrum, 7-8 metres at most from the Scotland try line, 10 metres in from this near side touch. Down in the corner we all look to this scrum. South African penalty from the last scrum. And here a tiny blindside with nobody waiting for South Africa. Solid defence so far from Scotland. Play it, says the referee. Faf de Klerk feeds. De Allende again carries it in the inside centre. Goes no further, 7 metres out, then he wriggles free a little bit, up to within 5 metres, still there for South Africa. Jamie Ritchie told to get his hands out. South Africa through the forwards again, right underneath the posts. Left they go, de Klerk gives it on to Malcolm Marks, the hooker, into Gilchrist, down he goes, 3 metres out. Left, South Africa go, Pieter-Steph du Toit, driving towards that line, over, try, South Africa. First try of the game, and the Springbok fans inside the Stade Velodrome erupt. The flanker is the try. South Africa extend their lead. What a start to this second half for the champions.
Yeah, really good start for South Africa. They got everything they wanted. They got the scrum penalty early on. They missed the kick to poles, but Scotland didn't clear the lines. They didn't get the ball out, and they could hold on to that ball. Eventually the attacking scrum 5 metres out, and it was just big man after big man trundling into space. And Pieter-Steph du Toit, fantastic piece of play there. He's bashed off the first tackler, and then he's held the ball. He's stayed up. Tuipulotu it is, he isn't able to stop him. Look at that, he's driving the legs. It almost looks like Kitshoff was dragging him over. So big men working really, really hard and eventually over.
Brute physicality. I mean, that is what you expect. That is route one. De Allende 12 up, round the corner, Marks, and then Steph du Toit finishes off the job. But that is it, coming round, physical, busting Scottish challenges and getting the first try of the game.
Enormous figure, Pieter-Steph du Toit, one of those sort of hybrid lock flankers, and the power that carried him over there and gave South Africa the first try, and gives Manny Libbok his first conversion attempt. 15 seconds remaining on the shot clock, and a chance to move out to a 10-point lead. So Libbok, one last look at the post as it goes red again, the clock down into the final 5 seconds. Forward he comes, and well, after all that time, it's been a sort of up and down kicking display from Manny Libbok so far from the tee. So no conversion, but South Africa lead by 11 points to 3. Physicality is the way of describing it. Anyway, back for the restart in a moment, but we can go to the cricket as promised, and Nikesh Rugani.
Where New Zealand chasing 227 to win from 34 overs in this second one day. Have just lost their third wicket. Will Young run out, brilliant piece of work from David Willey at mid-on for 33. So New Zealand now 56 for 3 in the 13th.
Thank you, Nikesh. You're listening to the Rugby World Cup 2023 on 5 Live and on BBC Radio Scotland for the South Africa, the champions, against Scotland as they start Pool B. And the restart was deep, and Richie Gray was performing as a one-man act in trying to halt the onrushing South African forwards. And the clearing kick from South Africa goes into this near side touch, and Scotland will have the line out just inside the South African 10-metre line.
Yeah, and apologies all round to his forwards from Faf, because that ball didn't go a long way. He hasn't created anything but an attacking platform for Scotland, and they go off the back.
Was that straight from Scotland? I'm not sure it was, but Scotland spared by the referee there. We had a perfect look at that one right down on the 10-metre line. Scotland with the ball then, just inside the South African half. Again, the South African defence just comes up as a line so quickly out of the blocks, and Scotland are going to have to try and counter that. Dempsey now just pops it back infield, and Scotland try and conjure something again. Here's Russell, just delays the pass to his captain. Jamie Ritchie has to spin through the challenge, and Kitshoff getting over that, and well, Scotland had to clear him out well. That's what Kitshoff can do, an immovable object over the ball. And once again, Pieter-Steph du Toit was up so sharply there that Russell had his options closed down. He couldn't move it right because the flanker was there, and now Russell just pops it to Richie Gray. and the giant Scotland second row goes to ground. But this is great defence by South Africa. They've countered and they have surely taken this ball here, and they do. Now they have it just inside the Scotland half now, and here is the try scorer, Peter Steph the Toy, and an advantage to South Africa, penalty advantage, Scotland offside. So South Africa starting the second half far the brighter. Out it goes to Arendse, takes the kick, scampers in, second try for South Africa. Wonderful from Kurtley Arendse, taking the crossfield kick in for the try. It's all South Africa now.
Oh, we've talked about the blitz defence again. South African defensive line coming up, putting pressure on the counter-ruck. That generates the turnover ball, and the crossfield kick is on a sixpence. Absolutely perfect execution. And South Africa, in the blink of an eye, completely different styles of try. The first one bludgeoned, the second one full of class.
You know what I love about that one, Bobby? Watching the replay, Manny Lubick, he was kicking in one direction, he was looking the other. It was just it was a sort of Finn Russell-esque. The weight in the kick was perfect.
Yeah, it was a fantastic try, but you know, it's made possible. The width and the ability of the kicker to connect with his wing is made because the big men carry the ball often. And when they're not carrying the ball, they're cutting the legs down of someone else who's carrying the ball towards them. So it's I've got to say, take my hat off. The forwards in the first 40 minutes were counted by Scotland. They went into the change room. They've come out breathing fire. They really, really want to physically take this match to Scotland, and we've got a change of kicker.
Well, Faf de Klerk, his left boot, is going to take this one because it's right down on the near side touch, just outside the Scotland 22. Better angle for the left-footed kicker. He does occasionally take on the kicking options, but only when needs must. And Faf de Klerk to try and convert, comes forward, and he looks to have just overcurved it. No, stays inside the upright. So extra 2 points added by Faf de Klerk. What a start by the champions to this second half. 2 tries and Scotland stunned. Power again in the turnover.
Well, I've got to say, Jasper Wiese was one of the selections where they said, well, he hasn't played that much with Khaleesi. You know, what are the combinations like? The two of them there, he was through on the ball, just burst open the Scottish defence, and Siya Khaleesi was there to dive in and keep it for South Africa.
This is Kurtley Arendse's 11th cap. That was his 12th try for South Africa, so that's why the wings now are Colby and Arendse, and Makazole Mapimpi struggles to get in the side. There are other options as well, but 2 wonderful wingers South Africa have. As from the restart, Faf de Klerk off the base of the ruck sends the kick. Kinghorn trying to come forward and take it. It goes loose but goes backwards, and then Dempsey, I thought he knocked it forward. The referee says, again perhaps charitably, that went backwards off the Scottish number 8, and Scotland have to find a way back into this game very, very soon. But every time they get the ball, as they do now, and Gilchrist carries, that's South African defence, the blitz defence up so quickly. Advantage to Scotland though. So the replacement hooker for South Africa, Bongi Mbonambi, was not rolling away, so penalty to Scotland. And Scotland don't need to panic yet and start throwing caution to the wind. They can pop this one into touch and try and build from here.
Yeah, Bongi Mbonambi went in on the tackled area there and didn't roll away, just slowed down Scotland's ball a little bit. Angus Gardner noticed that, and Finn Russell's going to go into the corner and set up that line-out platform for his forwards.
Yeah, and he's done not too badly. That'll be about 15 metres out or so. Scotland not going for the goal at this stage. They have a bit of a gap to try and bridge. So they're saying, right, we'll try and do it from the line out. We need tries. Substitutions. So we talked about the bomb squad, as it's rather offensively known, but it's the forwards that come on for South Africa, and they are just as good as any who have started the game, and they rotate sometimes. Frans Malherbe going off, Kitsoff going off, and so a change of props, because Stephen Kitsoff, Frans Malherbe are off, and on in their place comes Oxenchain and Trevor Niakani, who are mighty props. Oxenchain particularly is as wide as he is tall, and Bongi Mbonambi is a switch. So a bit of a change in the front row here, Bobby.
There has been a bit of a change. I think it's a funny one, but I think Malcolm Marx went off to change his stitches or something like that, because he came back on with more strapping, and in the time Scotland have messed up another line out, didn't even get anyone in the air, but the pursuing South African loose forwards have knocked the ball on, so Scotland with an attacking scrum rather than a line out.
And it's actually quite a good scrum, because it's got a decent sized blindside now, but that was a mess at that line out. That was miscommunication. Nobody seemed to know what was happening, Johnny.
They're having a shocker. Like the way South Africa defend is they defend middle and back. They leave the front of the line out for you, so you can go there and take it on the 5 or the 7 simply, or you have to have a double triple movement to puzzle them, bamboozle them. But which
is what they did in the first 2 so well.
Exactly. They've looked to go over the 16. They look for multi-option, different triple. I don't know what it is, but look, they all look lost, and they need to simplify and just take the ball on the 7.
They need to get some points on the board here. Good position with this scrum inside the South African 22, 15 metres from this near side touch. Scotland attacking right to left, down goes the scrum. Cries of early to the referee. Everyone's stating their case. The front row's all having a chirp at Angus Gardner, the Australian referee. He was in charge when these two sides last met a couple of years ago at Murrayfield.
Yeah. Okay.
I can see Oxenchae.
The message is
just
hit and hold, take the weight. Okay. Hit and hold, take the weight.
Look at we're looking at pictures of Rassie Erasmus on our screen. He's got a selection of lights in front of him. So he's got 3 like car headlights, which he'll hold up in this. It's a sort of semaphore. No, it's flags. Morse code message down. Anyway, different lights mean different things. I don't know what he's signalling at the moment. Send for food. Scrum to Scotland, just inside the South African 22. Oh, South Africa getting the squeeze on there. Scotland in all sorts of trouble. Penalty to South Africa. Springboks in control now. An attacking Scottish scrum was splintered.
Dismantled. And that's it. Set piece, coming up against the Bokke. You have to front up in these areas. You have to at least achieve parity and get your ball out if you want to attack. But there, line out, misfire, forced to reset for a scrum. And the Springboks shove Scotland off their ball. Big penalty for the South Africans.
Huge. Incidentally, the lights are entirely allowed. We have checked. I don't see why they wouldn't be. You can get messages down there, so by whatever means necessary. So if you decide to do it with lights, carrier pigeon, well-trained hamster, whatever it might be, Rassie Erasmus is not out of place by using the lights. And at the moment there, you'll be very content with everything that he has seen, because that last scrum, that scrum won by Scotland just before half-time seems a distant memory. That was brutal from South Africa there.
Substitutions.
And it's a different front row.
Well, it is, and Scotland are countering that now. They're putting some of the big timber on their bench on to counter what looks like a fracturing scrum at the moment.
We are changing hooker. Dave Cherry is on for George Turner. Xander Fagerson is off. Grant Gilchrist is off. So a replacement at tight head prop in WP Nell has come on. And Jamie Batty is on as well. So change of props, change of hooker, change in the second row. Scott Cummings on for Grant Gilchrist. But South Africa have the line. A good juggle of the ball by Malcolm Marx. Then he regathers and makes good ground, but there was a knock on there at the end, says Angus Gardner, so Scotland will have the scrum. But South African supporters around seem fairly comfortable with things at the moment. It's an entirely different feel to the game now.
It certainly is. I think South Africa have displayed maybe more of the traits that the fans have liked over the last year and a bit, or 2 years. And Malcolm Marx there, it's a good early hit there from Dave Cherry, his first one, and he's gone up against Malcolm Marx, who's come on and off and now been permanently replaced, we think, by Bongi Mbonambi.
Yeah, there's a good strip of the ball by Ben White, the scrum half, getting in there, Malcolm Marx. So Marx is off, so Bongi Mbonambi is back on at hooker. The revolving door of the hooker role for South Africa. But again, that's a front row that's born to scrummage, because they're the squat, powerful men. Duan van der Merwe is lurking in the fly half position here for Scotland, just inside Finn Russell, who waits and offers a final few words of encouragement to the giant winger. We've hardly seen Duan van der Merwe, and a game is going one way. Penalty to South Africa. The Scotland scrum again. Scotland going to ground, knee to ground in the front row. It's going the way of one side when a wave starts to ripple around the stadium. And Willem Nel, WP Nel, shakes his head at that one, because he was the man penalised there. And Scotland simply cannot get a foothold in this second half. It's been all South Africa after the break. And Faf de Klerk's going to take a shot at goal.
And you can see the knee down. Gardner did the same to South Africa. He said Frans Malherbe's knee had gone down. He gave the penalty, but Scotland have given that away. And it's almost in exactly the same position as where Faf de Klerk made his conversion. Not an easy kick by any stretch of the imagination. About the 5-yard line, and let's just say 10-15 metres into the half. He does kick full time, you know that. He plays a lot of his rugby in Japan now, and he's a full-time goal kicker.
Yeah, he's certainly coming more to it. And the amount of players who play in Japan in this South African side now. And Faf de Klerk is now one of them. 7 of the 15 now play in Japan. And Faf de Klerk pays no heed to the wave. He's bringing that one around well, but as he left just a little bit too much, didn't curl it quite enough. So the lead remains at 18 points to 3, and Kinghorn has sent it a huge distance downfield, but just gives South Africa ball to attack with again. And Damien Willemse, the fullback, makes Wonderful ground up to the Scottish 10 metre line. All South Africa at the moment as Bongi Umbanambi, the replacement hooker, charges headlong into the Scottish defence. And Scotland trying to get hands on ball, trying to get some possession and territory. Trevor Nyakani, a racing tight head, goes to ground. South Africa now hunting down a third try. They lead by 15 points, 18-3 in front. 58 minutes gone in the Stade Velodrome here on 5 Live and BBC Radio Scotland. And South Africa moving it swiftly, going through the phases, the options arriving, the runners. Franco Mostert now hits the line, the second row, then Rappel just outside the Scotland 22. And once again it's Bongi Umbanambi who is there. The ball is still there for Faf de Klerk on his 50th cap. So impressive again. Mani Lubbock gives it to Dimian Delende. Siya Kolisi is out there, the captain, up to the edge of the 22, sets it back, and de Klerk arrives again. R.G. Snyman just folds himself forward. Huge frame, the second row, and the kick from Faf de Klerk, a rather misguided one. And Kinghorn has a chance to clear, but actually doesn't get too much ground. That might have been better, actually staying in field and going down all the way down the pitch. But South Africa will have the attacking line out.
Yeah, Damian Willemse just coming into that position of first receiver a few more times in that sequence of plays. Siya Kolisi's been very good today. Quiet, but good. You know what I mean? He was one man against three, and he did that clean out all on his own, looked after the ball. What a player.
He's just so good on the defensive edge. Like, always buys an extra half metre. Tremendous athlete. He's got a decent fend on him, and the ball is always secure. Now looking across the ground, Scottish bodies, quite a few of them suffering from cramp. Richie Gray really battling. Rory Darge as well. We barely said his name.
Well, exactly. It's the effort that's put in, and we're having this water break again. So on come 4 giant coolers, 2 per side, and they'll take a break. And Dwayne Vermeulen is on as 2 former number 8s, yourself, Bobby Skinstad, and Johnny Beattie. The old man, 37 now, but the Springbok fans seem to like that. I mean, Jasper Visa as well. I think they're applauding for him because he's been so impressive.
Oh, he had a fantastic game tonight, and you know he's come on the. They understand their roles. Dwayne Vermeulen will come on now. He'll add some physicality. You will see a role in the line-out. He's a great supporter in the line-out and one of the guys who is central to the line-out drive. You will see the defensive role that he plays, and he pilfers a few balls every time. He's just got that ability to get, where the action is going to be quite quickly. I thought Jasper Visser, a very able replacement for Dwayne Vermeulen's 16-odd-year career so far.
It was actually quite late until he came capped by the Springboks. I was looking at it, I thought 37, he must have played in every World Cup going back to 1987, but he actually only started first cap when he was 26 or so, but he's become such a sort of talismanic figure.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and I think guys like Skalkberger were carrying 7, etc, etc.
Pierre Spies earlier than that as well. I mean,
exactly. But what a player. I mean, he's been all over the world now. He's done a couple of stints in Japan as well. He's gone to Ireland. He's gone back to South Africa, and the rumour has it he's been asked to stick around because
defence coach, someone said it might be helping out as a sort of player coach transition into coaching.
I certainly know that as a senior player in this squad, he's adding to the experience that makes strategy so much easier when you're a coach.
It's amazing. He did 3 years at Toulon as well. He's been in France as well, ripping up the top 14. He's just an absolute dump truck. Physicality that he brings, as you mentioned, coming off the bench, just what Scotland want more of.
Yeah, most recently, Willem Alberts was another man who was sort of keeping him out earlier, but most recently with Ulster, now unattached Dwayne Vermeulen. I'm sure he will not be without gainful employment. I mentioned the Japanese contingent. South Africa, 7 of the starting 15 playing in Japan. It's a very convenient season for Japan, not just for the compensation, but also because it's quite a short season. January to May, play 16 games and that's it, and
yeah,
12 games.
It's a lot closer to cricket and an IPL type thing where you can go off and play a couple of months and then come back.
Well, the coolers are off and we're away again, so we start the final quarter of this match. South Africa 18, Scotland 3. The line-out has been purring along for South Africa, not so for Scotland, and now a little dummy from Dwayne Vermeulen releases his man in Cheslin Colby coming in off his wing. And South Africa on the attack again. R.G. Snyman just frees a giant limb beyond the tackle to get that ball away, but it's loose. Opportunity perhaps from Darcy Graham to hack it down. Has he been hurt there, Darcy Graham? Trying to kick that ball free, and he has done himself a bit of a mischief. But again, you mentioned Johnny barely said Rory Darge's name, hardly said Duan van der Merwe's name or Darcy Graham in attack.
Well, in attack nothing because we haven't had any ball, but Rory Darge, you're expecting, at least what we've seen in Glasgow Warriors and Scotland early caps is that ability to get in, slow down ball. But South Africa, they've been so effective and powerful with their carry. Everything's been a one-man clean-out, quick ball, and off they pop. Rory Darge has barely been able to get into the game.
Dwayne Vermeulen has been told not to push it by referee Angus Gardner, so he decides not to push it. That didn't look straight from Bongi Mbonambi, and it's spotted by the referee. So not straight by South Africa. That's that first line-out that hasn't gone so smoothly for South Africa. A little nod of the head from Mbonambi, says fair cop, and Scotland have the decision, and they're deciding to take the line out, which I think is the wise one, because they know if they head to the scrum that dark things await them.
Apologies, Jamie.
So 61 minutes gone now in the Stade Velodrome here on 5 Live, BBC Radio Scotland. It's South Africa 18, Scotland 3. A reminder of games to come for Scotland. You have Romania and Tonga, and then Ireland to finish with. And a line-out goes well for Scotland this time. Russell hasn't really had a chance to show his box of tricks, looking for the 50-22. What a kick that is from Finn Russell. Scotland will have the line-out deep inside the South Africa 22. And there we are. I said we haven't seen too much magic from them. That was some of it. Oh, taken quickly. Darcy Graham over the line. The referee says no. Scotland tries to take it quickly, the line out.
Yeah, South Africa have got two players there. It's a fully formed line out. You can't take it quickly, unfortunately. And the referee said it was in front of the mark as well. Some really crafty play from Scotland there. I think they've just taken it in front of the mark, unfortunately.
Well, they need to win this line-out, and if they do, they have a chance here inside the 22. Dave Cherry, replacement hooker, looks to his jumpers. Richie Gray moving around. It's taken down by Cummings instead. And then round the back goes Dempsey. Eventually Vermeulen sort of slaps him down, but he's up to within 10 metres. Scotland moving it now. It's loose. Went backwards. Cummings falls upon it for Scotland. White now moves it out to WP Nell. Can Scotland punch a hole, find a gap in this South African defence? Moved around, and Finn Russell finds Darcy Graham, but going nowhere there. And the swarm of South African shirts over the winger now.
You're on the body,
still there for Scotland. White moves it right to Cummings, the replacement second row, charging in. But now Scotland almost back at just outside the 22, shifted left by Batty. Scotland's ball, but they're heading backwards. Cherry tries to get them going forward again. This South African defence is brutal. It's quick, it's efficient, it's so draining. There is Rory Darge trying to make some headway, reversing into the challenge, and penalty to South Africa. That was a masterclass from Scotland's line out, about 15 metres out from the line. It ends in a penalty outside the 22. Sia Khaleesi emerges to the adulation from his teammates.
He's worth his weight in gold. Again, we haven't talked about him too much in defence. He has had too many tasks to get through, but there again, the blitz defence coming off the line, getting men onto the deck early. That one just allowing Khaleesi that little half yard, that space and time to get himself on ball. He latches on, and the first real Scottish possession in a long time comes to nothing.
Yeah, brilliant play by Sia Khaleesi. He had 3 pops of the ball at 3 different tackles there. The first 2, he was blown off it. I think it was Richie Gray who didn't allow him to have a chance. And the second one, he was very close. But you know what? He popped up on the third one again. And that's it. That's just amazing ability. And we saw Finn Russell got Scotland out of trouble. A 50-22, a nice attacking line-out. But South African defence, you have to say, take your hats off.
Between the 15s, that's where they are. They stack between the 15 metres. Normally if you have a 1-3-3-1 or wherever your formation is, but the power they've generated, scrum time and physically in that midfield has just been extraordinary.
And with that, Sia Khaleesi takes his leave off the field to rest. His recovery from an ACL, a torn ACL in April, has been extraordinary. South Africa's line out on the Scottish 10-metre line works well again, right down in front of us on this near side touch. And Bongi Mbonambi, replacement hooker, has it at the back of the maul, and the maul's working well enough and creaks into life again. They've had one go at it, and it goes again. But Scotland are at 6s and 7s in their defence of this maul. And now they halt it, and the ball went loose for a moment, and Curtly Arendse had a foot in touch as he gathered it, so just a little bit untidy from South Africa at the end, and Scotland will have the line out instead. South Africa 18, Scotland 3 as we head towards the final 15 minutes.
Yeah, amazing play. They tried, they did set up a very good driving line-out maul, but I think Puff de Klerk and Bongi Mbonambi weren't communicating well there, because one was trying to keep it in and one was trying to take it out to attack or get it towards Marnie Libbock in the back line, and between the two of them, there was a mistake and picked up by Gardner.
Beautiful pictures from outside the stadium on our monitors. There's the sun sets and the Basilica of La Bonne Mère on the hill looks down over the old port, and Scotland's line out, well, it went well enough, but then the ball kicked long and taken by South Africa right on their own 10-metre line, and South Africa with hands on ball again. Faf de Klerk clears a body or two, and Peter Steph du Toit got the try scoring going for South Africa. Oh, and the ball given away. He's trying to float a pass, but it went instead into Scottish hands 5 metres from that far side touch.
Get out.
And just now inside the South African half as Scotland try and creep forward again, but it's all rather slower than when South Africa have the ball. Finn Russell moves it out to WP Nel, and the replacement tight head prop goes to ground. In goes Ben White to move it to Russell, fired out there to Duan van der Merwe. Oh, here's a rare chance for van der Merwe. Just tries to make his way past Kurtley Arends. The wings stand strong enough, and it slows down for a fraction again. Richie Gray to Russell. Out it goes, and carried now by another Scottish replacement, Matt Fagerson, who's on. And the ball is there for South Africa to claim. It was exposed, and South Africa quicker of thought indeed at the breakdown, but...
Let me explain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trevor
The ball was
Nyakani.
out, your timing was good, but you never started onside. Okay? All right.
Trevor Nyakani, a smile, holds up both giant hands and says, OK, that's fine. Well explained by referee Angus Gardner. Penalty to Scotland. Finn Russell sends Scotland into the South African 22 again. Hope is stretching away from Scotland and growing thinner by the moment. But if they are to come back into this game 15 points behind, they're going to have to score now.
Yeah, it was a lovely run. Duan van der Merwe almost getting away, escaping the attentions of Damian Willemse and Kurtley Arends. The ball had come out of the ruck. Trevor Nyakani did everything right, except he didn't retreat behind the last man's feet before he did it.
So once again, just inside the 22, Dave Cherry, and that's going all the way of South Africa. There's nobody there for Scotland to claim that. The ball is loose, it goes forward. So again, Scotland are only getting second chances here because of an occasional fumble by South Africa, but the line-out, Johnny's a mess.
But that was actually very cutely defended by South Africa. If you watch that back, they've now learned, they've obviously talked to each other, and they said, if the ball goes over the 15, the line-out's over. You can then get in, you can nudge, you can jump on lifters, you can pretty much do whatever you want. So there they foiled that one again. South African smarts, to be fair. And Scotland very lucky not to be punished with a turnover. Big overlap on the outside channel. Another scrum.
Wow.
Blair Kinghorn with a good tackle there on Peter Steph du Toit, dislodged the ball, and that was the knock-on. That's why Scotland have got an attacking scrum, middle of the field, probably their best opportunity.
You would say an attacking scrum, and it is an attacking scrum, but the way recent scrums have gone, Scotland, it's replacement front rows, and if you look at Dave Cherry and Jamie Batty, and WP Nell's a good scrummager, but up against Bongi Mbonambe, Oxenche and Trevor Nyakani. Can they give Scotland the platform? Ali Price is on at scrum half for Scotland as well, and he now stands there, having come on for Ben White to feed down. It goes. Penalty to South Africa. It took a long think about that, Angus Gardner. And WP Nell again, he's not a man given to open displays of dissatisfaction, but he's staring at Angus Gardner and saying no. But he was the man penalised.
Well, he actually looked. He was trying to grab some soil or grass out of his feet. I think he slipped. I think it was the surface that actually let him down there, because he would have felt that he was solid. But if your feet are going backwards, one of your knees or your shoulders going to hit the ground first, and that was right in front of Angus Gardner.
Manny Lubbock, how impressive he's been today. Clears for that far side touch from that South African penalty. And we're just watching the replay, and there certainly seemed to be a little bit of slippage. But it'll be a South African line out on the Scottish 10-metre line. And Xander Fagerson, pictures of him, again, disagreeing vehemently with that decision by Angus Gardner. But you see the penalty count is totting up as Scotland concede more and more. On comes Willie Leroux, great full-back, to replace Manny Lubbock. So a bit of a reshuffling here in the back line, Bobby.
Yeah, Willie Leroux will go in at 15, and Damian Willemse will come and play standoff. He's played 10 a little bit this season. He was a very effective 10 at school, but it's an experiment that they'll hope goes right.
Scotland not even challenging that South African line-out as they take it down at their leisure and attack again, and carried now by Dwayne Vermeulen.
Turnover good.
Turnover is good by Scotland. Haven't been too many of those, and South Africa looking for the counter turnover, but Richie Gray feeds it back. And Scotland, through Ali Price, sends it long. And the chase is on, but a little bit tired. In fact, it was Ollie Smith with the kick. And the reason that the clearing kick was coming from Ollie Smith is that Finn Russell is down on one knee receiving treatment. And again, shoulder this time, perhaps, for Finn Russell. So again, we'll watch that with interest. This game may be getting beyond them, but you're looking to further challenges now and hope for Scotland's sake that Finn Russell, it was a hit on Damien Delendi, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a big task. Lendi, we spoke about the number of kilos that he has, but he builds up speed quickly as well. And Finn Russell, very committed, went in on a good-ish tackle. You probably find it's a bit of a stinger. You know, it didn't look like a dislocation or anything like that. He was certainly suffering for a while. He wanted that ball off the field.
Oh, it seems to be okay. A few cries for Scotland. I think they're Scotland. They might be Boca, I'm not sure, but I think it's Scotland around the Stade Velodrome. The last vestiges of that sunlight just sneaking up into the girders of the stand opposite. Again, what a wonderful setting we've had, and great atmosphere. Rather more subdued in the second half, as the Scotland fans, I think, know their fate. But a line out one, a chance to attack Duan van der Merwe. Again, he's shut down very quickly by Kurtley Arends on the wing, who's just holding on for dear life to the giant limb of Duan van der Merwe, but does his job. And Finn Russell, is giving that pass. But again, South Africa up so quickly, so often it's Peter Steph du Toit. It was again. And now Damien Delendi just wrestling himself free of Cam Redpath, who's on the field. An uneven meeting of weights there. And Scotland have the scrum as they hold their man up in Damien Delendi. But look at the size of him as we watch.
You're not the referee, don't come at me.
And he's complaining there to the referee, but told not to do that. Delendi saying it was high.
That was well done by Cam Redpath as well. He held him up in that.
Sorry.
Man, the boy's getting shot.
Apologies. Yeah. I was happy.
Are you happy?
Yes.
So it's Bongi Mbonambi who's now the...
Sorry, apologies.
Oh, that's a lovely little piece of conversation between the referee and Bongi Mbonambi. Bongi Mbonambi has rushed off to him and said, "Oi, what about the first knock-on?" And he said, "Do not come at me. You're not the referee, and you're not even the captain." And Bongi said, "Well, actually, I am the captain." Siya Kolisi's gone off. They've had a little giggle, and they've gone back. Scotland ball.
Yeah, scrum to Scotland. 9 minutes to go. South Africa 18, Scotland 3. South Africa, we've talked about their slow starts to recent World Cups. Narrow win over Wales, a defeat to Japan in 2015, defeat to South Africa in 2019. Almost certain now to be victory here to start defence of their title. Better scrum by Scotland, but then under pressure, taken away by Dempsey. Opportunity now for Scotland to have a go. Kinghorn builds up a head of speed and into the South African half, moved quickly by Price. Scotland playing with a bit of vim and vigour now as Richie Gray sends it back, but it's loose, and again that South African defence so quick. Duan van der Merwe on the outside calling for it as Fagerson carries for Scotland just inside the South African half. Oh, and what a meeting of bodies that was. You could feel that here at Scotland. Russell, again, he looks and just sees Peter Steph du Toit closing off his options, then a spin and a carry from Cam Redpath. Scotland looking for something here, last sliver of hope as they send the kick through, but Willie Leroux at fullback, the wise fullback, fields it well, sends it into touch. Scotland will have the line out though, midway between the South African 10-metre line and the 22. Again, sometimes you see a different scrum half comes on, it's not because they're better, it's just because the game's breaking up and they offer a little bit of zip, and Ali Price has been quite lively since he's appeared.
Yeah, he has some nice speed, and you know what it's like, it doesn't matter who or how you're playing. If you're going sort of, Ben White's he's had 70 minutes in him and he's tackling some big men, so nice to have that little zip. And Scotland actually looked really, really promising when they spread that ball.
Line out to Scotland again. I'm not sure who that was meant for at the back. It was just sort of patted back by a man on the standing, legs rooted to the ground. It is Scottish ball, but it's just inside the South African half. They're going backwards in possession. Now, Ollie Smith, replacement, their fullback. And van der Merwe nearly sneaking through unnoticed up over halfway, but again the South African defence, Willie Leroux was so sharp, and South Africa have it, and Vermeulen shifts it out. Now danger for Scotland as it goes. Cheslin Colby has a bit of space, has options, has support, goes himself up over the 10 into the 22, steps, doesn't give it, down 15 metres out, but it's quick for Faf de Klerk. Damien Delendi, South Africa through Mostert, hunting this third try. Now they shift it again, looking for the pass out wide. Cheslin Colby had the options out wide, went himself, still with the Springboks, little dink over the top, only goes to van der Merwe, calls for the mark, just about at his own try line. Scotland survive hanging on by their fingernails. And Van der Merwe has to kick himself from that mark. Not a pretty sight in terms of style. Gets some good distance on it, and Willy Leroux is there just outside the South African 22. Damian Willemse just off the outside of the right boot, pokes it forward. Poorly directed kick though, chance for Scotland to counter. Finn Russell sends it downfield. Willy Leroux watching this, the kick is too long, end over end over end, and into the in-goal area, almost entirely dead. I thought Willy Leroux could have had one leg out there and it could have been entirely dead, but it's going to be a
9-wide substitution.
We're having another substitution here for South Africa as South Africa get ready for their goal line clearance. Grant Williams is coming on, scrum half.
He's a promising young player. Just to see him run with the ball. What a lovely game by Faf de Klerk, and well done to him. Grant Williams has been one of the sort of proteges, if you want. He's got great speed. He's the reason South Africa could do the 7-1 split, because he's fast enough to be on the wing or at fullback, and he's played both positions.
Faf de Klerk on his 50th cap, another masterclass. You'll be able to talk a lot about Antoine Dupont, rightly so. He is majestic, but Faf de Klerk is in the same mould, same build, same quickness of thought and skill set as Scotland attacking. But just over 5 minutes remaining, and a juggle and a fumble by Hugh Jones. And again, we're talking about players whose names we have barely said, and Tuipulotu has had a bit of action. Hugh Jones hasn't quite so much.
Okay, let's go, please, guys.
And his spill will give South Africa the scrum on the 10-metre line, and the referee wants to keep things going. A few fans starting to head for the exits here into the final moments. They know that the die is cast and the day is just about done for South Africa and for Scotland. What a chance. We're watching again in the morning. What a chance it was for Cheslin Colby. Faf de Klerk was outside him.
Yeah, he was. He had the 2-on-1. I think he felt that if he stepped, he could get away. Have good defence though. Redpath tracking, and then Finn Russell it was who got back and just scragged him, got him by the jersey, wrestled him to the ground. Lovely little counter-attack. I'd like to see more of that from South Africa.
So it's 2 tries from South Africa, and it's a 15-point lead, and 2 tries fairly early in the second. What a start to the second half it was from the Springboks. So now 75 minutes and 38, 39, 40 seconds, and the replacement scrum half, Grant Williams, has a little look. The base of the scrum, and off he goes. He can fly the pass though a little bit loose. Oh, opportunity for Scotland. A kick is on, and into touch it goes as Kinghorn was racing down on it. I'm not sure. I thought the 2 Scottish men were away untouched there. We'll have another look on the replay. It was Ali Price who fell upon the loose ball. Well, Grant Williams probably had him covering, but I thought he was away, and I thought he might just give it to Kinghorn.
Yeah, I think if he'd flicked it earlier, he would have been an inside option possibly for Blair Kinghorn. South Africa making a few little errors now in the dying minutes of this match. They'll just want to tighten it up a bit and get out of the area where Scotland can press for a try and a score.
Lion rampant flag, the gold and the red. Don't see too many of those now, waving for Scotland down on that corner. The line a bit messy, but Grant Williams, the scrum half, is away on his own. Scotland trying to close him down, up over halfway a step. Oh, wonderful tap tackle. And it was Finn Russell in there making that tackle again, and Scotland now with a chance to counter. The game breaking up, the tired bodies everywhere, and Scotland's pass is loose, knocked forward by Scotland. Scrum to South Africa as Duan van der Merwe comes away. But you talk about the threat, Bobby Skinstad, of Grant Williams as a live wire scrum half. That was a tap tackle away from being one of the great individual tries.
Unbelievable. Look at this. I mean, what a run. He's weaved in and out of the Scottish backline. He's just the step inside and out, and then he's just gone. He's put the afterburners on. Look at the eyes. He's excited. Mate, fantastic bit of play there from Grant Williams, and what a lovely tap tackle. Desperation stuff. Desperation tap tackle.
The talent coming through in South Africa, and that tap tackle has just been shown on the big screen. That was a thing of beauty in itself.
Yeah, I was watching along on the big screen there, and Finn Russell's done 2 or 3 defensive bits of work that have really made me think he is out there. He's put his heart and soul into this match.
And he's physically struggling. I mean, his shoulder's been buckled. He did his ribs in the first 5 minutes.
He's given everything.
Scramble D and the amount he's put into it. The frustration, clearly, because he hasn't had much ball in attack, but defensively, he's worked his socks off.
Just over 2 minutes remaining in the Stade Velodrome here in this opening match for these 2 sides in Pool B, this brutal pool with Ireland and South Africa looking for the penalty. The scrum doesn't come The referee just waits for the ball to be moved, and here is Grant Williams again and shifts it out. Loose pass in front of Curtly Aronsa into touch it goes, but it was forward anyway.
Scrum or a line out.
And Scotland can have the scrum or the line out. It looks as if all players out there are pretty much spent. And again, we talked about the effort in attack, but mostly in defence against South Africa. The physicality in these conditions, warm, still over 30 degrees down there. And Scotland, I'm sure they want to launch a final attack, but do the bodies, are they willing to respond?
Been a draining old game, a really, really good game of rugby to watch though. I mean, second half I would say South Africa accelerated away a little bit, but they were certainly held, to at least a match. It was a 3-point score at half time, and they've done so much better in the second half, South Africa, but Scotland really were going punch for punch.
Scrum to Scotland in the final minute, penalty to Scotland, breakfoot penalty. So Bongi Mbonambi not having his foot back, or foot forward rather, in that sort of starting position. And Scotland with the attack. Blair Kinghorn skirting infield, trying to get those long legs moving. The tall fullback goes to ground. And South Africa lose it in the challenge as they try and come over the top there and spoil things. Scotland then, again with that South African defence up so briskly, shutting things down. 1 minute remaining. Less than that now. Ali Price moves it out. Offside South Africa. Scotland with a penalty advantage, so they'll come back for that now. And this is a chance for Scotland to kick it into touch as far downfield as they can, because they'll get the line out however long is remaining, even if the clock is red, and it's about to go red. But Finn Russell, I suppose the good thing for Scotland is they have been competitive. Never looked like they're going to win this match at all. They've been competitive in some aspects of the game. They've avoided major injuries, it seems, but South Africa have been in control. But the kick from that penalty, great touch finder. Scotland will have the line out about 12 metres out from the South African line to try and finish on a high.
Well, it's the line out that's troubled them all game, and it's the last platform that they've got to attack and score. I think Scotland will want to end on a high here. They've got a couple of big games in this pool.
Well, free kick to South Africa, and the line-out continues. Well, it will end, as it has been throughout most of the match for Scotland, a bit of a shambles. And if your line-out doesn't function, if your set piece doesn't function, yes, we all knew the scrum was going to be hard going for Scotland against South Africa, but if the line-out doesn't function, you don't have a platform to get into the game.
They have had no platform. That has been the frustrating part for them. Absolutely nothing at set piece. Horrendous.
Last touch of the game goes to Damian Willemse, just sticks it out with the clock red. It is victory for South Africa to get the defence of their World Cup title underway, and they'll be delighted with that. 2 tries to do it at the start of the second half. Scotland have given as good as they had, but just didn't have ball to play with. And against South Africa, and against the physicality of South Africa, Johnny Beattie and Bobby Skidstad, you're never going to be at the races. Really a comfortable in the second half win for South Africa, Bob.
Yeah, I would say so, and you're 100% right. I think in the first half Scotland really put everything into it, and they certainly had South Africa almost on the back foot. It was a 6-3 score as we went in, and the South African, the big men, hadn't had a chance to carry the ball. In the beginning of the second half, the first 6 or 7 minutes of the second half was a blitz of physical presence.
I think just heartbreaking for Scotland. I think they'll look at that as a missed opportunity, especially the forward pack. John DL, Richie Gray, the line out, Grant Gilchrist, people that are normally canny operators. 8, 9 lost balls. They didn't offer a platform at all to their back line, and then when we did, it was scrappy ball. And against the blitz defence, if you don't have organised, structured, go forward ball from source, you're always working uphill. So a poor day at the office from some of the fundamentals for the Scottish team. They'll be really disappointed, and I think South Africa showed us as well why France and other teams opt for this blitz defence. It is so hard to play into. It's almost impossible.
So for Scotland, it's Romania, Tonga, and it's Ireland to finish in the pool, and all really on that game against Ireland, although Tonga now will be quite a test as well. Thank you to Johnny Beattie, Bobby Skinstad in terms of commentary. But there we are. It is South Africa up and running at this World Cup in defence of their title. 2 tries to do it from Peter Steph du Toit, Curtly Aronsa. They have beaten Scotland 18 points to 3.
Thanks, Andrew. And if the mountain Scotland had to climb was big before this game, well, it just got another step steeper, because they can't mess up in this pool. They've got to win their games, and it finishes with Ireland in Paris on the 7th of October. That is the challenge that awaits. Johnny, I've been looking at the official stats here on the computer in front of me, because rugby's a simple game. Any coach will tell you, get your set piece right, okay? And it says here, officially, Scotland lost 4 line-outs. Feels to me that it was a bit more wobbly than that, right?
There's a difference when it's a physical confrontation. So when it's technical and you're up at scrum time and you get disrupted ball or you give away a penalty, I can understand that. But what Scotland failed to do was organise, communicate, and normally they have a top-class line-out. They operate very high percentage, over 90%, but today they'd be lucky if they were 50, and when you offer up Finn Russell on a back line, no ball, nothing at source from scrum and from line-out, it's nigh on impossible. We saw what they did. They tried to play off scraps and something that wasn't go forward or orchestrate or launch properly. It was just shaky ball, and that normally, if you have good ball into a blitz defence, is hard enough, but off that quality that they offered the back line, they really had no chance. It was really, really difficult, and that's where the Scottish pack, they're mates of mine as well, the boys that are calling the shots in there, they'll be bitterly disappointed that they couldn't offer more to the rest of the team.
Bobby, when you see a line-out going awry like that, as it did today for Scotland, which just makes them vulnerable within a game, how much do you feel that was in the credit for South Africa to... Johnny's going, no, it was all bad. Scotland were just rubbish. How much did South Africa perhaps just do their homework on the Scottish line-out?
Well, I think Johnny made a really good point in the middle of that game. He said South Africa have changed how they're defending the line-out. So maybe in the second half there was more pressure from South Africa, because the pods that they actually gave the front ball away, but Scotland never took it. So the fault for me was actually miscommunication between the jumper and the thrower, and then also, they weren't getting the ball in a position where they could have a duality of attack. It had to go off the top very quickly because they weren't driving the mauls very well at all.
The players are just still down on the pitch. They're doing their obligatory, tunnels and just applauding each other off the playing surface. Scotland will be bitterly disappointed. On moments, Johnny, matches turn. And I think Darcy Graham is going to have nightmares when he watches that opportunity back just before half-time. South Africa leading 6-0. Scotland are in the game, and he just has white line fever over in that left-hand corner. Duhan van der Merwe is out wide on his left, and he doesn't pass the ball. What on earth was he thinking? Pass it, and Duhan was going to score in the corner.
Massive game. Simple skill, just execute drawn pass, and it's a different complexion to the tie, but that's it. There were so many different versions of that one occasion, whether it was line out, the missed call, whether it was playing into a blitz defence, not kicking when probably we should have kicked and not run into a blitz defence, executing simple 3-on-1s. There were lots of different little microcosms within that game that Scotland didn't execute properly, and I think they'll be kicking themselves. They've given a really poor account of themselves, because they are much better than that. Yes, they were pressurised by a big Boca blitz defence, but 3-on-1s, line-out calls, jumps, lifts, these are simple fundamentals of our game that actually over the past 2-3 seasons we've gotten right more often than not, and that's why they'll be disappointed with their performance.
Bobby, it's 6-0 up to the Springboks, and Darcy Graham looks like he could be putting van der Merwe over in the corner then. That was a let-off for South Africa, wasn't it?
It certainly was. I mean, my comment at half-time was that South Africa could be behind here if that had been even just a score. They would have gone into the lead with 2 points, and they would have said, "Here we go, we can put this away." So it's a mistake from Graham. I don't ever blame an individual player. He possibly thought he had the measure, but sometimes catch and pass do the simplest thing, because it's the thing that's going to give you the biggest results.
I just want to ask you one thing about Rassie Erasmus and his traffic light system down there. As a man who has captained South Africa. Now, it's not illegal. I've checked with World Rugby. He can do that under the letter of the law. He's not doing anything that he shouldn't, okay? But it's a really interesting thing in terms of, does he not trust Siya Kolisi and his leaders out there to make decisions on the pitch? Instead, he's kind of putting up traffic lights at them and saying, OK, right, in this situation, I want you to kick for the points and not the corner.
Yeah, but hold on. I don't think that's fair at all. Trust between him and Kolisi is got nothing to do with this. Rassie Erasmus is a data and analytics based coach. So what he's gone and done and said, at that part of the field, we are more effective if we kick for poles, or if we kick out, or if we have a scrum, or if we have a situation. He's then probably called up the analytics, and the traffic light system is to say, I mean, if you're Siya Kolisi and you need to remember that as a captain, you know, what's our percentage of positive play from that position, then no.
I want you to hold that thought. Let's see if we can hear the comments now from captain of Scotland, Jamie Ritchie.
Frustrating, obviously being on the wrong side of the result, but got to give credit to South Africa. They're very good at what they do in terms of putting us under pressure, and we just couldn't execute under that pressure. Yes, we created opportunities, but we also pride ourselves on being able to take those opportunities, so we have to be better as well.
It is a long tournament though. What can you take out of that match heading forward?
Really proud of how we fronted up physically. I thought our defence was excellent today. I thought we really took it to them physically, which is something we spoke about doing. And yeah, look, there's loads to play for. We've got a bit of time now. We've got a bye week next week, so plenty of time to dust ourselves off. And I just said to the guys there when we came together after the game, like, look, all the hard work we've put into this point hasn't gone away. It's one setback, but we've still got loads to play for.
Bad luck and good luck for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
That's the captain of Scotland, Jamie Ritchie, who's looking for the positives in that performance, which we can talk about in a minute, Johnny. Just want to go back. Sorry, I rudely interrupted you, Bobby, because I'm fascinated about just how Rassie Erasmus kind of doesn't push the envelope, but just is such a detail-driven coach that he's gone to such lengths to work out a traffic light system.
Yeah, look, I think he does push the envelope. I think it's a good comment. Right. Of course he does. I mean, listen, he's literally been the innovator coach since the first day he stepped onto a field with a whistle rather than his own rugby boots and a ball. And I mean, I remember this traffic light system is not new. It just used to be done with a painted board, like he was getting the aeroplanes to land in the right place at the airport. I know though the background is moving the ability of the players to make a snap-second decision on what they should be doing and which is more effective for the team.
I also like it because it's a system. It's a process. I think we're looking at it the wrong way. It's a system, it's a process, it's there to help the players. And also it removes another decision from the leadership team. It says, look, we'll sit back in the cold in the coach's box, we'll see the context of the game, we'll make the decisions for you, and you just focus on executing. I actually really like that as well. It's smart. He's a smart man.